At the festival of the descent of the gods, people raise their glasses and celebrate joyfully. It is a sacred annual day when the gods descend to bless the world. These blessings are true gifts. They grant people various useful skills. In the town of Arcella, the voice of a young man sharply and urgently calls Cena. He energetically tries to wake the sleeping girl, who in a half-drowsy state mumbled that she needs a little more time. A young man named Gio joyfully exclaimed, "Today is the festival." Still half asleep, Cena jokingly calls her older brother a pervert. He insists that she get ready quickly, warning that they are about to be late for the prayer. She reluctantly agrees, and he tells her to at least try a little harder. Leaving the room, he stood in the size she had ruined "We will see this" in the pouch behind him. This year is special. Both Gio and his sister Cena have finally turned 15. The streets of the town are decorated with festive flags for the special holiday. Finally dressed, Cena appears and thanks his older brother for waiting. She yawns widely and he thinks they are the same age, but their mothers are different. He admits to himself, in reality, he does not know all the family details. Walking beside him, Cena shares with a trembling voice her nervous excitement about the anticipation of future gifts. Gio's face lit up when he imagined receiving a powerful gift for adventures. He confesses that he dreams of becoming a traveler like their father, but without all that drama. The expression on his face seems to reveal an even deeper, fundamental reason for his dream. Cena gives a radiant smile, confident that she will receive a wonderful gift. She jokingly nudged him with her foot, promising to be by his side and help fulfill his dream. His foot firmly steps on the path. They are almost there. Having reached the clearing, he invites them to join those who are already praying. He kneels down, his heart pounding, and fervently prays for a useful gift. When the sun rose above the horizon, a dazzling spark from the lighter's friction flared up. At the moment of transition, the whole world seems to fade and disappear. A divine voice from above weighs what gift to send to the praying child. Before him appears a beautiful goddess, ready to hand him her gift. He decides that such incredible power will be of no use in his. After the ceremony, those who received gifts excitedly discussed their new abilities. Xenia impatiently asked her brother how his ceremony went. She opens her gift a little uncertainly, the grace of the god of the sword. He quickly flew closer and exclaimed excitedly what an amazing and incredibly rare gift she has. Embarrassed, she thinks he is about to kiss her. He quickly apologizes for his excitement. She asks again about his gift, and he, hesitating, recalls his desperate prayer. With a painful smile, he says that his gift, unfortunately, is called Home Garden. The picture of his great dream about adventures shatters into a million pieces. The red-haired girl laughs uncontrollably because his gift seems extremely funny to her. Jo and Cena suddenly recognize their childhood friends Ani and Sifa, who were laughing. Terribly embarrassed that they were overheard, he watches as Cena worries whether she can support him. CPA encourages, any gift can come in handy if mastered well. Her gentle words again ignited a tiny spark of hope in him. He looks angrily at Annie, who continues laughing at his failure. A dark moment hung between them, and the conversation suddenly changed. He sighs and remembers that Cifa and Annie are exactly the adventures he desperately dreamed of joining. Sefa looks at him thoughtfully and somewhat regretfully. Annie teasingly remarks that it seems now he won't be able to go on an adventure with Sifa. She continues teasing him, saying that everyone can see anyway he is in love with Sefa. The defeated Butterly falls to the ground, and the girls turn their attention to Cena. Neither Sifa nor Annie had ever heard of Cena's unusual gift before. However, they agree because of its powerful name, it sounds incredibly strong. Seeing an opportunity, Annie invites the shock scene to join their adventure group. Sifa warmly accepts the generous offer and says with a smile that she will gladly welcome Cena. Gio stands aside and silently watches, understanding that his sister now has the chance he wanted. He silently wishes that he too would get something suitable for adventures. Not knowing what to do, the confused Santa panics and turns to her brother for advice. Sweat streams down his forehead, his face tense. He makes a difficult, selfless choice. He tells her that he cannot be her support forever, especially with the level of skills he has now. Patting her on the head, he says that she is now an adult and must work with all her might. Sefan and he watched this touching exchange. Sefan quietly murmured his name. With a clenched fist and a quiet "okay," the scene embraces her new path. She lifted her gaze, full of new determination, and exclaimed that she would become a traveler. Preparing to leave, she says a simple goodbye to her older brother. She cheerfully admits that her ultimate goal is to earn a pile of money and then just relax. He stands and watches her walk away, not believing that he is the one seeing her off. Gloomy, he feels a wave of envy wash over her new adventure with Sifa. He stamps his foot on the ground in despair, lamenting his supposedly useless gift. Suddenly, in the silence, a mysterious voice sounded and asked if he would like to appoint a garden. In response, a rectangular plot of his overgrown yard begins to glow brightly. He frantically looks around, not believing his sensesdos he really hear and see what is not there. The glowing outline on the ground still flickers with ethereal light. Again, the voice echoes in his head, and he shudders at its inner presence. He understands nothing, but shyly agrees to the strange proposal of the voice. With a quiet boom, the weeds disappeared, and in their place appeared a perfectly dug-up garden. His heart pounds in his chest as he kneels down and touches the incredibly soft earth. Suddenly, a strange, ornate, menu screen appeared, frightening him again. The menu flickers with the name and level of his new skill, home garden. Then the voice asked if he would like to start growing his new crops. Before his completely stunned eyes flashed a long list of available vegetables. Finally, he realized that this incredible ability is the true essence of his gift. He decides to experiment and plans a single potato through the interface. Cultivation begins, and a tiny sprout instantly appears in the ground. He kneels before the single small sprout in the middle of the huge, empty garden plot. He is shocked. He realized that he didn't even need to plant a physical seed. He laughs in complete disbelief how simply growth occurs. Deciding to test this further, he fills the entire field with 10 different crops. Having finished, he notices that no seeds are visible on the surface. The freshly dug earth remains silent for now and seems unchanged. Still puzzled by his gift, he decides to check it again later. An hour later he returns, and before him unfolds an incredible, fully grown garden. He suddenly realizes this amazing growth, which would usually take months, is the power of his gift. He holds in his hands a shiny, perfectly ripe tomato. Its marble patterns reveal incredible quality. A voice suggests harvesting and admits it can read his thoughts. Stunned by this revelation, he simply nods silently in agreement. A head of garlic on the ground suddenly and distinctly twitches. Nearby, a large cabbage head slightly moves in the fertile dark soil. With a loud bang, all the vegetables around him jumped out of the ground. Carrots and potatoes bounce near his feet, as if truly alive. Pumpkins jump in the air and land perfectly in the bowl nearby. He watches with admiration as the harvest arranges itself into neat piles. Giostan found himself amidst an incredible harvest of magically gathered vegetables and tried to comprehend this strange phenomenon. His thoughts quiet down in a moment of silent reflection. A drop of sweat runs down his forehead. Suddenly his face lit up. He realized how incredibly useful this power is. A troubling question crept into his mind. Can one really eat this magically grown harvest? He looks closely at the tomato. It no longer moves and looks completely ordinary. He decisively bites into the mysterious shiny fruit and takes his first bite. The taste exploded inside him, and he exclaims that it is super sweet and incredibly delicious. He admiringly gazes at the dense pulp and rich juicy core, sweet like a fruit but with perfect acidity. Chewing incessantly, he feels that he can eat a whole ton. It is astonishing that this is only average quality. Suddenly, an exciting thought flashed in his mind. Perhaps all other vegetables are just as amazing. Meanwhile, Cena and her new team approach the gates of the city full of wonders. A close-up reveals an exquisite pattern on the belt buckle and on the character's armor. The three walked across the endless beautiful meadow, and before them stretched a wide, picturesque panorama. In a wide shot, the travelers cross rolling hills under a cloudy sky. Sepha explains that nearby there is a dungeon ruled by Lord Arsel and open to adventurers. I am visible. I shine with excitement at the thought that I can get rich from dungeon resources. Her partner advises practicing sword strikes on weak monsters to get used to combat. Sifa sincerely believes that the sword from Cena will very quickly improve her skills. Suddenly, Annie senses the presence of a monster and instantly takes a defensive stance with a dagger ready. A pot-bellied goblin emerges from the tall grass with a sinister muffled thud. CIFA confirms that there is only one, so this is the perfect opponent for a beginner's adventure. Cena makes a training swing. Her blade cuts the air with impossible speed. Sifa froze in amazement. She admits that the sword moved so fast it was completely invisible. Cena, beaming with a smile, asks if she succeeded. She is confident she can defeat the goblin. She rushed forward alone, ignoring her friend's anxious cries about danger. Cena is full of confidence. She knows she has the strength to defeat the creature standing before her. The goblin threw a stone, and her friend screamed her name in fright. With a light oops, she effortlessly deflects the thrown object aside with a clang. Her blade slices through the air, a quick, sharp cutting sound is heard. She lowers the sword in a powerful arc, and the blade cleanly cuts the goblin. Seafood and Annie could only stare, masks of pure shock and admiration frozen on their faces. Cena Worlds exclaimed joyfully, celebrating that she alone defeated the monster. Her companions froze. A mixture of surprise and complete bewilderment was visible on their faces. Sifa mentally notes what she has seen: incredible courage, strength, and an unwavering will to kill. She feels he has a raw, innate talent for swordsmanship. Cena finds a shiny object, and Sepha realizes with surprise that they have found an unexpectedly talented person. The action shifts to a quiet street of a small town, covered by a cloudy evening sky. Geo, busy with cooking, flinches when Cena bursts in, stomping, and loudly announces that she has returned home. He warmly welcomes her back, and while dinner is already ready, asks about her first adventure. As soon as he hears that she fought a monster, Geo panics and rushes to her, asking if she is injured. Cena, as if it is a trifle, calmly assures her overly worried brother that the monster is actually very weak. He brings to the table a luxurious steaming vegetable stew that he gathered that day. When Cena takes the first bite, Geo leans closer, anxiously asking how it tastes. Her cheeks are puffed out as she chooses, and for a moment her expression becomes completely unclear. Her eyes open wide, and in bliss she exclaims that the food is incredibly delicious. She looks at the stew with admiration and exclaims that every vegetable in it is incredibly tasty. A blush of pure pride and happiness from her reaction appeared on Geo's face. Cena raised an eyebrow. The food is not as usual, and he confirms this is definitely not his usual stew. Delighted by her praise, Geo impatiently takes a bite to try it himself. He trembles with pleasure, eyes tightly closed in ecstasy as he enjoys the taste. The brother and sister eat with enthusiasm and say in unison that the vegetables are now on a completely different level than before. Geo is pleased to see how much his sister enjoys the food and sincerely praises the dish. Her curiosity boiled over, and she asked where he bought these amazing vegetables. He just chuckles mysteriously, while she continues eating with great enthusiasm. She impatiently asked for seconds, but her brother tells her to listen and follow him. After eating, Santa pets with full bellies, satiated and satisfied they ate too much. Geo leads her outside and majestically reveals to her the abundant garden in their yard. She asked with a tremble if this was the power from his home garden, and he quietly replied, "Exactly." Her eyes shone with joy at the thought that she would eat such delicious food every day. Geo smiles sadly and admits that he still envies the adventurous gifts. Saint Maria is confident in him. His gift is also incredible, and he is already salivating at the very thought of even more food. While she is hopping, a tiny crystal slipped out of the pouch and rolled on the ground. He sees that she dropped the stone it rolled and stopped near the garden. Zeno explains that this is a magical stone from her adventure, and she hands it to him. She summoned magical spheres, and instantly a gray crowd of black fragments appeared around Igni, rushing at him. He asked her what she meant, recalling that magical stones are just solidified mana. She does not mind giving it to him, but he keeps wondering what she intends to do with it. But in the new world, connections could be established even without knowing a bunch of words. The magic stone was used, it dissolved into the soil, exploding with a flash of light. With a smile full of hope, he wonders what his unexpectedly amazing garden will now give. Shiny drops like tears began to grow on the plant, and he could not believe it. He thoughtfully thinks about his gift, the power that creates fields and gives tasty, abundant harvests. But here is what happened. He used only one magic stone, and a meat tree grew in his garden. His eyes are wide open in shock. His gaze screams a question: what is happening to his gift? The scene shifts to the outskirts of the Arsel dungeon, a dark and ominous place. Fierce bat-like monsters swarm, and a new chapter begins: Angel's Reception. Cena slashes a monster, and sighs she is tired of so many battles. The companions only nodded. With Cena's skill in the dungeon, nothing threatens them. After the battle, Sinus notices a small magic stone, and without hesitation, decides to take it. Sepha asked about Geo, recalling that he was in a bad mood after the festival. She admits that she is nervous, and Annie assumes that he is still upset about his gift. Cena quietly chuckles to herself, and the comrades cast a questioning glance at her. With unwavering faith, she says that her brother is incredible and could conquer the whole world. Siafa and Annie can only stare back, their faces empty and completely embarrassed. They ponder her words, wondering how a home garden could conquer the entire world. Returning home, Geo panics, remembering that Sepha said she would visit them. His panic grows when Cena calmly adds that Annie will soon regain consciousness. He decided to greet CFA as warmly as possible and make her visit truly happy. A seed of doubt sprouts in his mind, and he looks anxiously. He thinks about Siefa's calm poker face. Her emotions are impossible to read. Anxiety spins inside him. He fears that in the end, he will simply disappoint her. Finally, Cena got through to him, said that their friends want to see his garden. Suddenly, he gets an idea. He can treat them to incredibly delicious fruits. His heart pounds with hope that this amazing food will also please her. Filled with new determination, he and Cena decided to prepare the garden for the arrival of guests. In the Chimera garden stands a bush covered with shiny growths resembling meat. Geo admits that his garden no longer seems normal, and as Cena approaches him, she extends to him a handful of ringing magical stones that she brought for him. On the status screen, it is visible that his garden is at the second level and is about to rise. Suddenly he remembered, magical stones are the key to upgrading the power of his garden. Geo recalls the shocking system message. He was told that now he can grow meat. Kneeling stands by the garden and, despite uncertainty, decides to level up. The system voice asks for permission to use the magical stones, and nearby is a mysterious scene that confuses. The crystalline stones shine brightly, then dissolve into the ground with a barely audible rustle. Cena ARR classifies the mysterious disappearance of stones under the category of geoguards. Notification flashed, confirming his garden successfully reached the second level. He is delighted to learn that he can expand his garden and grow new plants. His enthusiasm fades a bit when he sees new options or just ordinary vegetables. Unfamiliar names intrigued him, and he asked Cena about shiso and sweet potato. With a dramatic wave, a dense patch of new leafy plants instantly appears. Cena is thrilled with the new vegetables, and Geo explains that he expanded the field. They sat down near the sweet potatoes, their eyes sparkling, both eager to taste the new harvest. During the harvest, the Geos freeze in shock when they find either a sweet potato or a purple one inside. In the kitchen, he guesses their taste will be similar to steamed potatoes. For the first time, Cena curiously bites into a steaming piece of cooked sweet potato. Both chew enthusiastically, surprised by the unexpectedly sweet and tasty flavor. Geo happily eats more, realizing that this vegetable rather resembles a snack or dessert. Cena exclaims, "This gift is incredible, I have never tried anything like it." Now filled with determination, she promises to gather many more magical stones for him. Time passes and their new productive routine continues to go smoothly. Cena triumphantly returns from the adventure, raising a huge magical stone high. With her help, the Geo garden level confidently rises day by day. He learns with surprise that by leveling up, he has gained a new skill. A glowing message about the new skill appeared, and he immediately became interested. On the day of their visit, the glowing Sifa quietly and politely apologizes for the disturbance. Geo, flustered, overflowing with happiness, greets Sifa, and his heart nervously pounds. Letting them in, he thought, as if an angel has come. He glows with happiness, still unable to believe how wonderful it is that Sifa has come. And he indicates her presence, and Geo apologizes shyly for not noticing her. Sifu explains, she came because Cena claimed that his garden could conquer the whole world. And he, believing nothing, walks to the back door. She wants to see everything with her own eyes. She snorts and does not believe that a simple gift like home garden could be so powerful. Her eyes and Sepha's widen as she opens the door to the courtyard. And he froze in amazement. Instead of a yard, a huge, lush garden spread out. Walking among the plants, she admiringly marvels at the incredible variety of crops. Her gaze runs over the vegetables and fruits that grow abundantly and flourish. She could not believe her eyes. Mushrooms were sprouting from wooden planks. And he excitedly noticed how impressively everything grows, even juicy grapes. She is shocked. In front of her is a beautiful fence, and in her memory is still that yard that used to be a dump. Sepha asks if all this is part of his gift, and Geo confirms. He explains that at the 5th level, he mastered the skill of fence generator. Annie admits that although she was initially skeptical, he made a truly wonderful garden. She mumbles about this absurdity, glancing at the crops she had never seen before. Geo quietly amuses himself at Annie's embarrassed reaction, recalling her previous mockery. But all his attention is completely and entirely fixed on another person. Anxiety creeps up on him. He notices Cephas's usual vacant look while she watches. He worries that his garden might bore or disappoint her. Shyly, he approached her and asked what she thought about the garden. Zephyr admits that she was truly stunned. She did not expect it to turn out so wonderful. Geo thinks that perhaps earlier she was just worried about him. Deciding to play his trump card, he treats them to the taste of his harvest. Annie is delighted by the offer of freshly picked vegetables. Geo deliberately stepped into the thicket to show his most secret. With a flourish, he shows a tree on whose branches pieces of meat shine. Sifa and Annie froze, eyes wide open, completely stunned by that impossible sight. Sepha whispers, not believing. Did she not imagine the meat on the tree? Geo admits that he was shocked at first too, but firmly assures them it is real. He panics, insists that you cannot create meat in such a field. Geo calmly says the harvest is tasty and sets off to gather some. When he approaches, the piece of meat on the tree begins to twitch and rustle. Suddenly, as if from nowhere, a basket materializes in the air quietly, with a light hiss. The pieces of meat started jumping by themselves and perfectly falling into the basket. Cries are heard that being skillful is not the main thing here. She loudly demands to find out what is happening in this strange garden. The basket is soon bursting with fresh meat with beautiful marbled streaks. Sifa and Annie looked and confirmed it really is meat, fresh and appetizing. Cena suggests having a barbecue, but Annie is still hesitant about eating. Jael worries that Sepha will find it too strange, but she herself says she wants to try. Annie is stunned, incredulously asking Sepha if she really intends to eat wood meat. Sepha gently reassured her, saying that it is part of J.O.'s gift, and he sighed with relief. The group enthusiastically starts preparing the barbecue. Geo, smiling, assigns the vegetable preparation to reluctant Annie. While they set everything up, jumping vegetables amusingly attack Annie. Thick, juicy meat skewers sizzle enticingly on the hot grill. The group gathered, and everyone's mouths watered from the incredible aroma. Cena, smiling, reminds Geo, let the guests take the first servings. Geo cautiously offers Sifi the first hot skewer with meat. Everyone watches anxiously as Tsefa hesitantly takes the food. Sifo closes his eyes and decisively bites off a small piece of meat. Geo's heart pounds, he nervously awaits her reaction. A close-up shows Sif thoughtfully chewing for a moment. Her eyes suddenly open wide, a soft glow envelops her, and she exclaims with delight, delicious. Geo is on cloud nine, wildly happy that he caught Sifa by surprise and that she likes it. He beams with pride, happy that the dish he prepared suits her taste. Edward trembled from head to toe and declared that Igni only has the Annie greedily bites a large piece of meat from the skewer. She immediately reacts, enthusiastically praising how tender and juicy the meat is. She eats with passion and exclaims that it is not just good, it is an incredible Geo, showering it with compliments. All the others say in unison, the food is simply fantastic and they cannot stop eating. And then Geo comes out of the house and happily says that he also prepared a dessert. He proudly presents a large, golden-brown sweet potato tart. Sifa has never heard of sweet potato, so the new dessert genuinely intrigues her. 3 girls each take a piece and eat it simultaneously. Their faces melt into pure delight, and they exclaim how sweet it is. Sifa compares its sweetness to honey, and everyone admires the new flavor. Cena closes her eyes and quietly whispers that this is pure bliss. They eagerly ask for more, and Geo gladly agrees. Cena laughs and tells Geo that she was right about his incredible gift. Sifa and Annie sincerely, and without hesitation, agree with her assessment. In the final shot, the source of the feast is revealed at a truly luxurious garden. After the banquet, shots with the grill and fresh fruits vividly emphasize the generosity of the garden. Saifa returns to J.O. with a radiant smile and enthusiastically praises both him and his stunning gift. J.O. froze, eyes wide open. He cannot believe that Sifa is smiling at him. Overwhelmed with joy, he says with a smile how happy he is that she liked the dish. Saifa looks at him with a gentle but inquisitive gaze, slightly embarrassed by his insistence. Frightened by her look, Geoflessa was gripped by panic, and in an attempt to divert attention, he offered her more food. He relived those first minutes of anxiety again, whether he would be able to properly host the guests. He understands that seeing her smile became possible only because of his gift from the home garden. A quiet transitional moment passed. In the yard, Geo looks admiringly at that truly incredible power he possesses. Annie and Sifa happily continue eating kebabs, enjoying those warm last moments of the meal. After coughing, Annie draws Geo's attention to ask a practical question. She wonders, can he really eat everything he grows, and doubts that even Cena could. Geo agrees his garden yields too much harvest for just him and his sister. Annie, looking thoughtful, suggests that he use the harvest for her family's store. The whole group gasped in shock at her proposal to use it for the store. On the noisy street, Geo looks excitedly at the huge queue at the restaurant during lunchtime. A waitress in a maid costume cheerfully welcomes guests to the bustling establishment. A close-up shows the restaurant signs, swaying in time with the crowd's chatter. He notices that only men are in the queue, all flushed and enchanted. The charming waitress winks and coquettishly invites Geo to take a seat inside. Gio is confused and momentarily tempted until someone's voice calls his name. Annie appears with a stern expression and calls the noisy restaurant their competitor. With a sharp tug, she pulls him away, firmly stating that his business is with her. He stumbled over his words, saying that he was just assessing the situation while the maid waved goodbye. Annie explains that a competitor opened a shop right across from her house. Then she gestures towards another, much quieter building on their side of the street. The house seems empty and abandoned, but in fact, it is the Lucas restaurant, Annie's family home. Gio asked if it was even open here, and someone recalled that life used to be bustling here. She says bitterly that recently competitors stole all their customers. Annie adds that seeing this place now so abandoned is especially painful. She says that her parents are often away, and she is always busy with adventures. As a result, her sister had to take over managing the restaurant, which was going under, and this surprised Gio. Annie describes her older sister Alicia as a kind and brave woman. Footsteps came from another room. A slow, measured pace was approaching. The gaze slowly slides over the empty tables in the silent dining room. Alicia enters the hall with flair, sincerely greeting her dear and lovely guests. In the vertical panel, she appears in a striking pose, illuminated by sparks. She poses dazzlingly in a very short apron dress with ruffles. Alicia wings playfully, her name written below her in the caption. Annie, blushing with embarrassment, shouted her sister's name, and Gio froze in shock. Alicia explains that she must fight fire with fire, and for that, wear a scandalous outfit. She swayed her hips and asked Gio if she should turn them on, and if it would work. Angry Annie throws her sister against the wall with a loud bang. She points her finger and loudly says that there is a fatal flaw in Alicia's strategy. Annie mocks, saying that her sister's breasts are as flat as paper. Alicia collapsed under a beam of despair, completely humiliated and overwhelmed with shame because of that comment. Clutching her breasts with her palm, Alicia decides that she has no other choice. She pushes Annie into an even more revealing outfit, insisting that she wear it instead of her. Annie fiercely refuses, while Alicia stubbornly insists that her figure would be just the right man for Annie. Annie glared angrily at Gio, who seems to be thinking about how well they get along. Blushing, she accuses Gio of imagining her in a scandalous outfit. Gio Denizit was embarrassed and asked what she was even talking about. Embarrassed, she pushed Gio. He yelped in pain and surprise. Alicia somberly decisively says that she is the one who must keep the restaurant afloat. Annie insists that she wants to help. This place is important to her too. Alicia complains with a bitter sigh that their menu and display are so simple that they don't stand out at all. She says fearfully that the restaurant they inherited is about to close. Gio is shocked to learn how much Alicia worries about this situation. He suddenly realizes how dear this restaurant is to both sisters. Seeing their despair, Gio clenches his fist with renewed determination.
The young man noticed that there were no trees around at all and was slightly worried.
He says that Annie asked him to come and help them solve the problem. He beamed with a smile and suggested that his home garden might help them. He theatrically lifts a basket, barely holding bright, fresh vegetables and fruits. Alicia exclaims in delight at the incredible generosity of the ingredients. She admiringly marvels at their freshness and quality, noticing some she had never seen before. Gio shows the curious sisters exotic large burdock and shiso. Digging deeper, Alicia is shocked by what she finds next. She held her breath in disbelief upon seeing a large bowl of pure white rice. Alicia, with a trembling voice, confirms to Annie that this is an incredibly rare grain. Annie explains that it was rarely imported, which greatly surprised Gio. Alicia notices that this rice is wider than she has ever seen before, and Gio says that it is polished rice. The sisters are stunned. How did he manage to grow such a wonder? And they wonder what kind of garden he has. Annie directly asks, what kind of gardening does he have if he can even grow meat on trees? Then she energetically suggests they try cooking something with these amazing new ingredients. Annie breathed a sigh of relief. Her sister would not have to resort to seduction. Touch Delishi, thank her, and say that she will try. She begins chopping vegetables with masterful speed and flawless precision. Gio is delighted with her skill, and she proudly says that she is an owner for a reason. Annie Bersan held a dusty old book from her father's room about how to cook rice. Alicia admits that she still could not figure out how to cook that tough, tasteless grain. The mysterious instructions in the book confuse them, but Alicia still decides to try. Their first attempt failed. Too much water turned everything into a sticky mess. On the third attempt, the rice burned to ashes, thick smoke billowing from the pot. When their supplies run out, Gio miraculously appears with fresh stock, impressing Annie. The pot finally bubbles quietly on the stove, as if saying that maybe it will work. The three lean forward, hearts pounding in their chests, waiting for the result. Lifting the lid, they were greeted by a cloud of warm steam and faces shining with joy. Alicia is confident that everyone will like it, as a long queue is already forming near the restaurant. The men in line grumbled loudly from hunger, impatiently hoping to be served by beautiful women. Alicia and the new kimono gladly welcome the customer, drawn to them by a pleasant aroma. Customers freeze at her beauty and call her hot while she shows the new menu. Annie, also in new attire, explains that she is helping today. The restaurant buzzes with the chatter of curious and excited visitors. Two men impatiently call the waitress, and Alicia warmly takes their order. Her face lit up with a warm, friendly smile as she agrees to their request. Gio, in the role of a waiter, carries a large tray with dishes that everyone eagerly recommended. He proudly presents Lucas's signature dish of the day: soup, salad, meat rolls, and rice. The guests froze in amazement. In an ordinary restaurant, they are served such a rare grain. A young man named Gio closely watches the visitors in the restaurant. His heart beats with anticipation. He quietly took a bite, feeling pride for the contribution of his gift. The buyer's eyes suddenly opened wide, pure shock, as if he is asking himself what he is eating. His friend, equally stunned, exclaims that the food is simply incredibly delicious. Another visitor enthusiastically praises the unparalleled quality of the salad, soup, and meat. He delights as the giant burdock crunches deliciously in his meat-vegetable roll. His companion agrees and notes the refreshing and tasty flavor of shiso. They say that the taste of meat, vegetables, and rice together is a completely different level. With unrestrained joy, the group swears that they could eat forever. Having finished the race, the man enthusiastically praises the incredible quality of the restaurant. As if by magic, a fresh portion of steaming rice appeared in his empty bowl. He appears with several more bowls and sincerely apologizes to the surprised customer for the delay. Playfully winking, she announced that the rice crisps are absolutely unlimited. Other visitors froze in shock and immediately dropped their cutlery, not believing this incredible offer. Beyond the luchuses, the crowd loudly demands seconds. Their cries echo throughout the street. A group of spectators, intrigued by this commotion, held their breath in anticipation. They decided they must try this incredibly popular restaurant themselves. The dining hall is packed with happy visitors who are delighted with the incredibly tasty food. Amid the noise, Alicia asked Gio to help serve the tray with food. He looks at the hustle and notices how truly happy Alicia looks. Gio brings another order to the table where smiling clients are sitting. They enthusiastically praise the excellent quality and aloud wonder where these rare ingredients came from. Suddenly, Annie grabs Gio by the shoulder, whispers SHH to him, and gestures to listen. Frightened by her action, Gio asks her what is going on. The client sincerely wonders how wonderful this restaurant is. He notices the competitor opposite has pretty waitresses, but the food is mediocre. The man loudly declared, "From now on I am your regular client." Hearing this favorable review, Gio smiles quietly smiled, feeling pride and satisfaction. After a successful day, he thinks that Lucas has not only tasty food. He comes to the conclusion, this restaurant also truly has an impressive owner. A closed sign hangs on the door like a quiet sign: "Work for today is finished." Alicia sincerely and uncontrollably thanks Gio. She is filled with joy and gratitude for this matter. She insists on paying him honestly for the ingredients. It's nice that he was able to help. Gio waved his hand cheerfully and told her that she didn't need to pay. He stands next to her and continues to refuse indifferently. Alicia's behavior changed. She fiercely insisted that, as a businesswoman, she could not take advantage of him. She firmly states, "I will pay twice the market price for ingredients of such quality." In the background, Annie is washing dishes, thinking that the offered prices are clearly excessive. Gio is worried. With such high operating costs, it will be hard for her to cope. He offers a compromise, and Alice immediately thinks that he is incredibly cool. Alicia playfully flew in and threw her arm around the surprised Gio. Embarrassed, he stammered, saying that older women seem warm, soft, and wonderful to him. Taking this as encouragement, she leaned even closer to him. She asked if he would like to date her, and his heart suddenly pounded wildly. The back door slammed. Annie Bresson shouted loudly. She pulls Alicia aside, scolding her for teasing the too trusting Gio. Gio, with a relieved smile, understands that she was just teasing him. Alicia smiled with a hint and decided to leave everything as it is for now. She gave him a friendly pat on the shoulder one last time. Later, Alicia quietly warned Annie, "Don't make any moves towards him." Annie, with a blush on her cheeks, defensively replies that she doesn't care what Alicia does. She quickly says that she will go prepare for tomorrow's matter. Alicia watches her younger sister leave, with a light, amused smile. That night when Gio and Annie were walking home, he said with relief that he was happy for Alicia. He recalls how earlier she, overwhelmed with anxiety, made reckless actions. Annie remarked in surprise how quickly the crowd gathered. Suddenly she becomes serious and advises Gio not to tell everyone about his gift. She asked what he would do if someone tried to abuse his incredible power. She paints a grim scenario. He is kidnapped and forced to create for others. Gio suddenly realized why she stopped him earlier and asks if she is worried about him. Embarrassed, Annie says it would just be very inconvenient for the restaurant. Gio agrees it's important who he tells, and he's glad he can trust her. And he quietly admits that today he saved them. He waved it off, reminding her that they have been friends since childhood, and she muttered that he is an idiot. She stops and turns around, looks him in the eyes, and directly says that she said thank you. Her sincere gratitude makes his heart beat loudly. Embarrassed, she got angry and accused him of being too frank. She storms off and he thinks he would never have expected such gratitude from her. A small warm smile appeared on his face. He thoughtfully looks at the noisy, happy restaurant and quietly rejoices in his contribution. He is delighted he managed to make so many people happy. A shiver runs down his spine and he decides to be more careful. A woman with a confident gait skips down the street, quietly giggling to herself. She smiles in her thoughts, recalling the profitable deals she made that day. Her cheerful steps stop when she notices a huge, noisy crowd. A queue of people packed to the brim wound along the street to Lucas's restaurant. She remembers that once the competitor across the street was more popular. Peeking through the window, she sees happy visitors inside. The small trader felt that the lady from Lucas's was hiding some secret. In the garden, Cena shows his brother a task, while birds flap their wings and fly away. Close up a plant with petals that are damaged and nibbled. Gio sighs identifies the culprit's local crows.
Ria explained that an ordinary person cannot release all their mana in a single impulse.
Cena brightly suggests destroying them, and this worries Gio fine. She confidently says that ravens are a trifle for an adventurer like her. She draws her shining sword, and the crows nearby fly away in horror. Later, Gio, embarrassed, notices that no crow is flying in. Cena jokingly teases her brother, hinting that they might be afraid of her. She jokingly offers to become the permanent protector of the garden. She says the time for your adventure has come, and waves goodbye to him. This gave the Geoponders a more permanent solution to the bird problem. He holds a handful of shining crystalline magical stones in his palm. He uses stones, confident that there are enough to upgrade his garden. A festive message appears on the screen. He has reached level 10. Suddenly, he learns that he has mastered a new skill and can now expand his garden. Next to a loud thud, a small figure with a large backpack landed. The sudden arrival sharply interrupts him, so he postpones checking his skill for later. He cautiously greeted the stranger and softly asked, "Who are you?" The small figure cheerfully jumps and introduces herself as the merchant Lyra. Gio is stunned by her small stature and wonders, is she a poppin? A small, energetic girl with a huge backpack stands in front of Gio's house. She asks Gio if he has any business with her, and at the same time wonders who he is. Hearing rumors about Lucas's incredibly delicious dishes, she explained with a smile that she tried them herself. Curiosity got the better of her, so she decided to stand guard near the restaurant. With a bright smile, she realizes that her investigation ultimately led her to him. Gio's heart was pounding as he realized with horror that she was following him. Walking past his hut, she wonders how such incredible ingredients could come from such an ordinary hut. Nervously, Gio asked aloud what she could have meant by that remark. The mysterious girl begins to guess aloud who he might be. With a sharp glance, she instantly guesses his abilities are a special gift. The word gift pushed Gio jerk back a friend's warning about a secret flashed in his mind. Panic is obvious on him. He stammers and doesn't know how to answer her. She giggled cheerfully and admitted that she was just trying to trick him. Gio was left confused, only one thought in his head. She was somewhat suspicious. Inside, she places a bowl of apples on the table and gently invites him to eat. After taking a bite, she admires these delicious apples with delight and asks if he grew them. Sitting in his living room, she decisively states that she wants to do business with him. Her straightforwardness stunned Gio. He stood bewildered by the sudden business proposal. Her eyes shine. She explains that with her help, he will be able to get into more stores. To calm him, she assures that her race is the dolls for cunning deals bida. Gio recalls that the dolls are famous as an intelligent and peaceful race.
Rhea, with wide-open eyes, noticed that the staff emitted a powerful aura. And
The girl explains that magic firmly binds them to promises and keeps secrets. With flair, she raises the scroll, so as not to reveal his gift. She asks if he will tell about his gift as soon as they sign. J.O. remembered the joy that shone on Sisyphus's face. He wanted to please even more people. The girl noticed that he does not understand commerce and offers her professional help. Although he is still uneasy, Gio decides that a reliable contract will give him enough security. He agrees to sign the document, and the girl beams with joy. The quill rustles over the parchment, finally sealing their new agreement. He holds the quill, its tip begins to glow with magical energy. Between them in the air appears a shining, ribbon-like crest of light. Both watch as the contract magically appears on the table. The agreement is made. Gio smiled and said he would now take her to his home garden.
Heed, Rhea, and Mia's arrived at the section where dozens of dwarves were.
Outside, she is shocked meat literally grows on the tree. Gio explains the amazing properties of the garden, and she remains completely embarrassed. Before her astonished eyes spread piles of bright fresh vegetables and fruits. The sight is so impressive that the young merchant is left utterly stunned. She had only imagined that his gift could restore freshness or make it sweeter. Whispering to herself, she could not help but marvel. What an incredible, simply stunning gift. When Gio asked what she said, she sharply withdrew and insisted it was nothing. J.O. Grosuspicious felt her tone and manner of speaking suddenly change. Suddenly it occurred to him as he looked with an empty, simple expression on his face. She imagines getting rich, and he understands. There is a cunning side living in her. Walking through the lush garden, she admiringly notices what a diverse harvest is here. Gio unexpectedly admitted that he recently learned to grow fish. She was shocked. He says directly, fish, unlike meat, do not grow on trees. From the ground with a plop, a fish sprout grew, a surreal sight. La Rauca notes, in the inland region this product is a real rarity. Gio honestly admits his only experience with fish is dried or smoked. La Rauca, with a radiant smile, suggests eating together to celebrate their friendship. Both are now in the kitchen preparing that strange catch. La Rauca steps forward with a dull thud, ready to start cooking. She skillfully prepares the macroscod, explaining that she learned this during past trades. Her knife glides with a quick, precise motion over the fish scales. Gio marvels, admiringly gazes at the shiny, perfectly prepared fillets, and immediately notices their freshness.
Rhea noticed that the density of magic was getting stronger below, and
When Gio tries to cook the fish himself, he quickly realizes that it is not easy. They gather salt, butter, and fresh vegetables from the garden, all to add real flavor to the dish. Gio compliments enthusiastically, praises Lyricaluria for her knowledge, while the fish sizzles in the pan. He exclaims with delight, what a wonderful life she is, full of travels and trade. While cooking, they talk, and Laruca says that his gift is not very suitable for adventures. When the last third arrived, Laruca proudly announced that their feast was ready. The prison trembles with anticipation, ready to taste the dish called mungier. His face melts with bliss as he savors the melting texture. He bites decisively. The food exceeded all his expectations. The fish melts in the mouth, not at all the dry fish he is used to. He is stunned. Incredible juiciness hides in the subtle, deep flavor. Turning to Lyricaluria, he asked her how she liked it. She exploded and shouted roughly with an accent that it is, damn it, too good. Gio is completely shocked by her sudden change of language and behavior. She crunches into a piece, enthusiastically praising its fatty and sweet taste. Sucking the soup, she enthusiastically feels the rich umami flavor filling her mouth. She trembled with delight and confessed she had never eaten such tasty fish. Amid the praise, she suddenly caught her breath, realizing she was mistaken. A drop of sweat slides down her cheek. She is overwhelmed by great embarrassment. Gio confirms that he had been hearing her speak like that all along. La Rauca begins to stammer, completely ashamed that her true self was revealed. Suddenly she leaned forward and fervently apologized for her outburst, and the table trembled. Burning with shame, she admits that the rough accent is her natural way of speaking. Although she was terribly embarrassed, Gio tells her not to worry. With a bright, sincere smile, he assures her that he actually feels relieved. He sincerely insists that this wonderful dinner is entirely thanks to her culinary skill. They argued casually and skillfully, each acknowledging the other's contribution. A moment of silent, mutual admiration flashed between the two Franks. Quiet laughter breaks the silence. A new understanding arises. La Rauca smiles, noticing that a little give and take will benefit the business. She suggests that he call her La Ruca, and he agrees, ready to grow even more fish. Laruka says if he grows more fish, the yields of his other crops will fall. On the street, Gio sighs and dreams of a little more land to expand his garden. Laruka thoughtfully surveys the boundaries of his current yard. Gio's thoughts are interrupted by a loud, ominous call. A flock of large black crows swoops down on the yard with the thudding of wings. The crows drool, their beady eyes stuck to the fish growing right out of the garden. He grabs a shovel and says he will drive them away himself. He burst in among them with a determined shout and heavy stomping. His attempt is clumsy. He swings the shovel with more enthusiasm than skill. He looks with amused surprise at his own ineptitude. The crow mocks him, not taking his helpless attempts seriously at all. The tattered Gio sits on the ground, having managed to save what remained of the harvest. Laruka hinted that he stopped breeding fish. He was frightened by the danger of flocks of crows. Feeling responsible, Gio looks worried. He knows that Laruka went to such great trouble for his sake. A sudden flash of inspiration pierces him. A brilliant new idea is born in his mind. He recalls the new skill he mastered that morning. His home garden is now at the second level. Reviewing his skills, he finally finds what he was looking for, creating a guardian. A sudden system message asks if he wants to create a guardian, and he agrees. This embarrassed Laruka. With a muffled rumble, a piece of earth suddenly tore upward, scaring the crows. A giant humanoid figure emerges from the ground, and Gio and Laruka look at it stunned. The earthen form continues to coalesce, its outlines becoming clearer and harder. Gio and Laruka froze with wide-open eyes, admiring the creature forming right before them. A giant stone foot fell with a rumble, completing the mighty figure of the new golem. Looking up with admiration, Gio asked if this new creature was here to protect his garden. The golem thumps his chest dully, as if confirming his duty to be the guardian of the garden. With new confidence, Gio points and commands the golem to drive away the crows. He explains to the puzzled Laruka that this is another facet of his mysterious gift. The crows scatter in panic, and the golem moves forward relentlessly, rumbling like thunder. Golem swung his giant stone fist. A powerful blow pushed the frightened birds, and they spun dazedly in the air. To their surprise, the crows did not retreat. They swarmed the golem and began pecking at his body. The crow's beak flashed and struck Golem's head, but the attack was futile. Gio burst with joy when he realized that his guardian was incredibly strong and not scratched at all. Golem does not stop. His powerful assault continues, knocking the last birds out of the sky. Gio shouts in honor of his victorious golem, who proudly and triumphantly struck a pose. Laruka watches the scene and mutters to herself how incredibly powerful this gift of Gio is. She was pierced by a cold fear when she imagined how this could be abused. Gio reaches up and gently pats the strong hand of his new keeper. Shining with pride, he enthusiastically praises the golem for the amazing work. Laruka watches the two with a thoughtful look, a new plan ripening in her mind. Raising his hand, Gio joyfully declares that he can now grow even more fish and not worry at all. A small smile appears on Laruka's lips, as if she knows everything, and she finally makes a final decision. The path in the garden appears as a sign of Laruka's departure, beginning the very moment she launches her plan. Laruka shouted that she agreed and left, leaving Gio inside the golem behind. After that, Laruka went to handle business matters, promising she would return soon. Now that the golem has protected the garden, a quiet, gentle calm descends around. Laruka returned and pointed to the wasteland behind Gio's house, land she bought. With a triumphant wave, she announced that she was giving him the entire plot. Gio is shocked by the simple gift, and Laruka explains that it will increase his harvest. She gently encourages the hesitant Gio. This is just an initial investment. Later, she will profit from it. Gio freezes for a moment under the weight of her unwavering trust in him. A warm, sincere smile blooms on his face as he tells her he feels the same. They firmly shake hands, thus sealing mutual trust and the beginning of their new business partnership. Laruka suggested quickly agreeing to demolish the abandoned house on the new plot. Alicia lowered her head and thoughtfully chewed over what she had heard. Lux repeated that it was there. He catches one invisible hint after another and confuses Lyrica with his one-sided conversation. Laruka and Golem froze in amazement. Suddenly wide fields grew out of nowhere before them. The creation of the new magical garden ends with a deafening, powerful explosion. Gio stands excitedly before the huge new garden, eagerly imagining how he will grow all sorts of new plants here. Later, Cena appears and exclaims in surprise that the yard has become much larger. Gio says that the land was given to him. Now he can grow many more different crops. Cena is stunned when he opens a grove of trees that literally grow different types of meat. Her tour of wonders continues. A plot where adult fish grow from the ground. Then she comes across a few more golems, and Geo explains to her that they are for additional protection. Cena claims that his gift is boundless, but Geo clarifies that there was a limit on the area. Geo reviews the menu and hesitates on what to plant next, while Cena and Golem's giggles laugh nearby. He notices that he can now grow medicinal herbs, and his eyes scan the new list. Cena is surprised to see Aim on the list, and immediately asks him about rare herb. She explains that her usual apothecary ran out of healing potions due to a shortage of eyes. Because of this, her friend Sifa got into trouble. They couldn't progress further in the dungeon. Geo listens intently. He knows that healing potions are indispensable in any adventure. The image of happy Safi sparked an idea. If I grow up, maybe she will like me. Having made a choice, he sets off to deliver the freshly grown herbs. He rustles in the bag, having quickly gathered a supply of valuable herbs for himself. With the bag in hand, he rushes to the pharmacy that Cena had mentioned. He approaches the gloomy, overgrown house, and unease slowly envelops him. A tattered sign open quietly says, although the building looks abandoned, it is still operating. He nervously swallows and cannot understand who this creepy person running such a strange shop is. He pushes the heavy creaking door and politely announces his presence inside.
He thought he had no right to deprive her of adventure even if she was a child, and traveling with her.
He trembles slightly, sees strange medicines, and decides that no one is here. The door creaked and a young person in ruffled clothing appeared from it, catching him by surprise. The man introduced himself Dennis, a shopkeeper and assistant to the apothecary. Geo is so surprised that he blurts out a question about the strangely made costume. Dennis was embarrassed, asked if this outfit was strange, and Geo tried to step back and justify himself. Dark, ominous shadow looms over everything, a hint that this is exactly Dennis's special costume. New formidable figure appears. Dennis recognizes her as Marlene, starling Geo. Marlene, a real pharmacist, mutters a rough greeting, her visible eye carefully examining the client. Geo froze at her frightening appearance, at first thinking she looked like a zombie. He decides that her stern look perfectly suits the creepy abandoned store. Dennis grumbles about this outfit, and Marlene stubbornly insists it is the owner's order. Geo realizes that this strange outfit is a deliberate trick to lure customers. He tries to be kind and tells shy Dennis that the outfit actually looks good. Dennis begins to tremble, confessing that he deeply hates that it suits them. Dennis, blushing madly, blurts out the reason for his embarrassment: he is a guy. Geo froze, speechless, mouth agape, stunned into silence by this revelation. Marlena sharply interrupts, exclaiming that Dennis is not a guy, but a femboy. The new term only confuses Geo. Even more, he is sweating and bewildered. Marlena falls into ecstatic delight, uncontrollably admiring Dennis's cute features. She tightly presses Dennis to herself, who struggles and calls him a femboy from birth. Geo looks at the strange spectacle with a stone face and decides that Marlena is strange. Overwhelmed by chaos, he decides to leave, but Dennis's hand instantly shoots forward to stop him. Marlena Hermaniagon plops down on the spare chair and asks Dennis if their visitor had any reason to come. Geo, a bit embarrassed, confirms that he indeed had a reason to be here. He raises a large bowl filled with glowing ammo, and Marlena and Dennis freeze in amazement. Dennis glanced at the shape of the leaf, recognized the herb, and asks Marlena to confirm. Marlena examines the leaves and excitedly says she has never seen I'm of such incredible quality. The gloved hand hovered over the shining plants. She noticed their freshness and tangible presence. Suddenly it occurred to her, for this purpose, she might be able to create truly first-class potions. Geo asks with curiosity what high grade means, and Dennis explains it's about the quality of the potion. The diagram clearly shows 3 levels of elixirs, and their shop usually stocks the middle one. Dennis explains, the gift of judgment of Dr. Marlena allows her to determine the quality of a potion with just one glance. Marlena carefully examines the herb and mutters about the strange quality of this eye. Her assistant Dennis is stunned. He has never seen so many IMS at once. Dennis enthusiastically praises Geo, who waved it off and whispered that his source is a secret. With one quick glance, Geo dismissed the praise and tried to move on. Dark aura envelops Marlena. She is fiercely jealous of the attention Dennis pays to Geo. She rudely asks Geo what he wants, her voice sharp and unfriendly. Despite the tension, Geo suddenly says he has a request for them. At the mention of the adventure or scene, Dennis's face instantly brightens with recognition. Geo then proposes his deal, a cheap almayam in exchange to put his sister's party first. Tense silence hung in the air while Marlene hesitated over this strange offer. Muttering to herself, she agrees, noting that the Sepha's party are regular guests anyway. Then Marlene sharply says, I have my own condition for this deal. Her eye flashes with a sharp, piercing light, a sign of her resolute intention. She dramatically exclaims that she must be the one to love Dennis first. Walking away from that strange shop, Gio cannot get rid of the thought, does Marlin now think badly of him? A warm confidence spread in his chest. He is convinced that Sifa will be glad about this arrangement. A pleasant dream begins the moment Sifa thanks him and confesses her love. He happily muttered to himself, and two women on the street looked at him strangely. In the pharmacy, a new elixir gently bubbles over the candle flame. Dennis doubted her business sense and said she should have asked for more goods. He reminds her of that incredible value which she was just given. Dennis objects he could not have been involved in that deal in any way. Marlin, focused on work, is sure this grass is not ordinary. When the last drop falls, she exclaims, "The potion is ready." Dennis looks over her shoulder, impatiently asking if she has prepared the highest quality potion. Holding the glowing biolap, Marlin believes she has created an incredible item. The strength of this potion confuses her, and she mutters that it needs to be diluted. After some time, Santa returned home and triumphantly announced her cheap haul of potions. In her garden, Sifa rightly guesses that Gio sold medicinal herbs to the shop. Cena excitedly says that Sifa was so satisfied that she wants to somehow thank him. Gio blushes, and his thoughts instantly jumped to the wonderful opportunity of a date. His sister dreamily says that the potions will allow them to go on adventures longer. Gio dismissed her words about strength with a sneer and called her a lazy novice adventurer. Cena puffs out her cheeks and stubbornly protests that she is strong and takes an active part. Her face suddenly tightened with concentration. The senses caught a new threat. Deep in the dungeon, Cena called to her comrades about the monster and rushed forward. The team faces a huge roaring bear, which they call the Giant. Sifa's hand glows with power, and she resolutely promises to cover Sana's attack. The great bear staggered for a moment. The power gift of Empress Sifa stunned him. With a confident smile, Cena swiftly lunges forward to grab the shaky beast. She releases a mighty arc slash toward the furious, bloody grizzly. The giant creature falls to the ground, with a final heavy, dull thud defeated. Friends rush to her, praising her for the wonderful and so easy victory. Stina modestly pays tribute to her gift, Hunter's Nose, and the support of friends. Sifa notices that with Sana's help, she barely has to use her gift. Thanks to Cena's incredible strength, the group rapidly breaks through the cave. Sifa sincerely reminds her friends that their success is also Gio's merit. Her companions nod in agreement, emphasizing that going deeper without his potion is dangerous. In one adventure, they recall that her brother, upon hearing the news, smiled from ear to ear. Cena's senses suddenly sharpened. She abruptly stopped the group. Peering into the dark passage, she feels that something is hiding in the depths of the cave. She senses two creatures, slightly ahead. Their breathing is weak and intermittent. Realizing that these must be wounded people, she decisively rushed to run. Her squad burst into the room and saw two adventurers collapsed on the floor. The wounded women groan in pain, struggling for every breath on the cave floor. The adventurers immediately rushed to the wounded women, resolute and ready to help at once. They rushed to help, begging the wounded to hold on. One of the girl's eyes suddenly opens wide with anxiety due to an invisible threat. Cephas swallowed hard, realizing that the adventurers had suffered terrible wounds. The girl in the hood drops to her knees and offers to use their healing potions. Another companion frantically rummages through the bag searching for potions, doubting whether they will work at all. From the shadows lunged a terrible, growling bear, attacking with extended claws. One of the girls falls to the ground with a crash from the sudden and brutal attack. Three huge bears emerge from the darkness and surround the group of adventurers. Cena shouted to her friends, "Take care of the wounded, and I will deal with the monsters." Annie realizes fighting three bears while protecting others will be very difficult. From the depths of the cave comes the sound of fast footsteps. The senses instantly caught. Several energy traces are approaching from the monster's side. She understands with relief that the approaching signatures are not hostile. A squad of armored warriors appears on the field, and their leader shouts fiercely, "Open fire." A volley of arrows pierced one of the bears, and it roared in pain. Another adventurer is smashed to the ground by a powerful swipe of the bear's paw. Sifa activates the Empress's power and feels her body becoming lighter. One of the bear's lunges is a powerful swing, the claw extended. Annie, empowered by Sifa's buff, smiles and orders her friends to leave one bear for her. Cena looks her opponent in the eye, and a new confidence sparkles in her eyes. With a determined smile, she agrees to the plan and is ready for battle. The experienced warrior Eliza easily deflects the bear's crushing blow. The monster swung its claws at her, but she gracefully dodged. Annie decisively circles her target, spinning around the beast in search of a vulnerable spot. She circles around his flank, preparing to deliver the decisive blow. With a focused shout, she announced that she was ready to strike. The bear's claws scrape her backpack as she rushes forward to attack. She struck accurately and sincerely thanked another person for the timely help. Eliza stands victorious over the fallen monsters while her team guards the place. The warrior Eliza calmly nods toward Seifa's group. She recognizes them. Sifu and Annie sincerely thanked for being rescued in time. Refocusing on the task, Annie rushed to give the wounded potions. Eliza examines the severe wounds and is convinced they can only be healed with a few potions. Distrusting their potions, Eliza orders her people to bring her own supplies. Annie uncorked one of Gio's potions. Her expression immediately drew worried attention. The liquid touches the wound and begins to emit a gentle, ethereal glow. A dazzling flash of light burst from the potion and instantly filled the entire cave. The spectators cover their eyes, stunned by the incredible power that erupted. Everyone froze with wide-open eyes, shocked by the true miracle of healing. Annie stands in silent awe, looking at the incredible effect of the potion. Just recently unconscious girls, their wounds are noticeably healing and sparkling with magic. The flesh itself is knitting together with impossible, shimmering speed. The healing is complete, only undamaged skin remains under her wig. The revived adventurer opened her eyes with a slight tremor, confusion readable on her face. The young woman looks embarrassed, and a barely audible sound escapes her lips. Her companions, a red-haired girl and a blonde warrior, were equally stunned. The wounds that were once fatal have completely healed in the two travelers. Stunned, the two revived girls look at each other, not yet fully realizing their recovery. Empty bottles with elixir now lie on the ground. They were the source of the miracle. Deep in the cave, the rescued people bow and sincerely thank. Their savior, a skilled warrior named Eliza, generously offers to lead them back. Feeling well, they politely declined her offer and decided to continue their research a little longer. As they parted, Eliza looked back with a question that troubled her. Her companion revealed that the potion was of exceptional quality, which shocked Cena and her friends. Record, Eliza asked where they got them, and she was noticed stammering about the apothecary. Noticing the apothecary skill, Eliza memorizes the name and leads her group away. The three of them watch them leave and enthusiastically say how cool and impressive Eliza is. Later, Seifa recalled working with Eliza and smiled, praising her for being a reliable B-rank adventurer. Annie adds that Eliza is mysterious. She constantly changes groups full of skilled warriors. Cena decisively changes the subject, insisting that they must talk about the miraculous potion. She and CFA thoughtfully examined the potion and its incredible, almost unreal power. Having analyzed its effect, CNA concludes, this is an incredible thing the world has not yet seen. She is convinced there is only one explanation for this incredible power. Her thoughts drift to her brother Gio's home garden, magical and generous. We see how Gio carries a large bag with his special herbs gathered by him. He brings his goods to the apothecary, who sincerely thanks him for the delivery. In the shop, the young assistant Dennis meets Gio with a radiant, hospitable smile. He gladly tells Gio that their potions are now famous, all thanks to his aim. Dennis enthusiastically recounts that he saw a story about a potion that instantly healed a deadly wound. Gio's smiles fulfilled his desire to help Sifi, and many others benefited from it. Overflowing with joy from the news, he extends an even bigger basket with aim. The chief apothecary Marlin appears. Her greeting is cold, and her gaze hostile. Dennis nervously tells Marlena that you brought them more purpose. Gio politely extends a basket of herbs and says she can use them if she wants. The stoic apothecary hesitated for a moment. Her face revealed nothing. She takes the basket with a gloved hand and whispers a quiet, barely audible thank you. Gio is surprised when Marlena says that his herbs saved many people. Embarrassed, Gio insists that it is just a trifle and immediately praises the high quality of the herbs. Marlena agrees and adds that without his eye, she would never have been able to mix these potions. Dennis beams enthusiastically praises Marlena. She is also incredible at her craft. The unexpected praise completely breaks Marlena's restraint and leaves her touched. Overwhelmed with emotions, she suddenly grabbed Gio's both hands. Her hand squeezes his hand tightly and with gratitude. She sobs with gratitude and exclaims that all this is thanks to him. He calms her down, promising to soon bring more herbs to the shop. Soon Cena returns from the adventure with a gigantic pile of magical stones.
Keed could not contain his curiosity about the rank of Ria's hairpin. The girl said it required.
The magical stones are depleted. Their energy was absorbed by the garden. A series of notifications exploded on the screen. Geo leveled up and gained new skills. He stands in his garden and thoughtfully contemplates his new skills and which plants he should grow. Flipping through the list of new crops, he suddenly noticed something quite unusual. The system opened a shocking new option from now on: he can grow monster eggs. Succumbing to irresistible curiosity, he decides to try out this strange new ability. A tiny sprout breaks through a clod of earth. The sprout rapidly grows into a lush, leafy green plant with several branches. At the end of the stem appears a bud. Inside it hides a spotted object. With a light hiss, a large spotted egg emerges from the plant. Geo holds the egg and marvels at how big it is, even though it says small on it. The large spotted egg lies heavily in his gloves. He nervously swallowed. A drop of sweat appeared on his forehead as he thought it over. He wonders if a real monster will really hatch from this egg. He doubts, is it really okay to raise a monster baby in his garden? Although growing it is simple, he still worries about the consequences. A joyful voice announces that merchant Laruka has arrived to pick it up. The frightened geodesists decided to leave the egg hidden in the garden for now. Lyrica exclaims in surprise, does he have anything to do with those famous elixirs? He confirms her guess, and she enthusiastically praises him for the brilliant work. He considers, should he plant the newly unlocked but more valuable herbs? He agrees and tells her, sell them as you see fit. Changing the subject, he cautiously asks La Rauca about her experience with monsters. He clarifies by directly asking about trading live monsters or their eggs. La Rauca says in shock that she has never seen monster eggs being sold. She explains that monsters by nature are wild creatures and cannot coexist with humans. She laughed and added, there is no market for raising such creatures. Promising to return soon, La Rauca leaves the house. In the garden, the leaves around the hidden egg barely rustle. Geo lowers his gaze to the egg and heavily contemplates La Rauca's grim words. He wonders, could he defeat a small monster in an emergency? He soberly concludes that he would not manage. He decides it is better to prevent this egg from hatching at all. He made a choice that became the final resolution of his moral dilemma. And at that very moment, the egg in his hands trembled and stirred. He froze, looking at the moving egg, completely stunned by the sudden turn of events. One of the small helper golems reaches out a hand and gently strokes the show. When the sun sets, Geo notices that Cena is delayed in returning home. He sits on the stairs, gently holding the pleasantly warm egg on his lap. Cena finishes eating, happily licks her lips and exclaims, delicious. Geo inquired about her day, and she indifferently admitted that she had fought a monster again. The casual mention of a fight with a monster completely caught him by surprise. While they walk through the garden, he asks what she is doing. Looking into the hidden egg, he saw it if monsters are really fierce. She confirms that it is so. The memory of the terrible attack horrifies him. His story shocked him, but she added that his potion saves them. He came to terms with the idea that people and monsters cannot live side by side. But Cena asks him to look at something else for a moment. She hints that there can be cute monsters, just like his friendly golems. She suggests bringing the monster home so it becomes part of their family. Geosai's insists that he is not lonely and teases her for being lazy. In his soul, he admits to a deep feeling of loneliness and solitude. Lonely Geo gently strokes the egg and quietly asks if it is okay. The egg trembles from his touch, a sign of life inside. Then it softly glowed, and he exclaimed that it responded to him. A look of firm determination appeared on his face. Decided. He resolutely declares that he will hatch this egg and raise the monster inside it. Having made a decision, Geo resolutely said that he would take full responsibility for this creature. He sits with the egg and puzzles over what kind of monster will be born and what to name it. Geodust, hands in gloves, satisfied the work for today is done. Filled with excitement, he walks to the garden, thinking the egg is about to hatch. He carefully reaches into the nest made of leaves, his hand hovering over the large spotted egg. As soon as his hand touches it, he pulls back, feeling an unnatural and disturbing cold. Geopanics holds the egg in his hands and exclaims, it has become cold, although it was always warm. His heart pounds with the terrible thought that the child inside the egg might die. Overcome by desperate need, he rushed away, determined to warm the egg immediately. Bursting forward, he dashed into his room. His haste showed his despair. He gently places the egg among soft, fluffy pillows and blankets on his bed. Kneeling by the bed, he tenderly strokes the egg, trying to give it the warmth of life. A wave of incredible relief washes over him as he feels that her temperature has returned to normal. He thinks to himself, since Cena is not home for the night, he can safely sleep with the egg. In bed, Geo presses the large egg to himself, a gentle smile on his face. Looking at the egg, he wholeheartedly promises that it will be born safely. At his words, the egg seems to tremble gently, pressing against the warm blankets. In the deep night, suddenly a series of sharp sounds tears through the silence. A loud crack shattered the silence of the room, and a fissure appeared on the surface of the egg. The noise abruptly woke Gio from sleep. He sat up sharply in bed and gasped in fright. He froze in shock as new cracks began to spread across the spotted shell of the egg. His eyes wide open, he is stunned that the egg is finally hatching. A wave of panic washes over him. He hesitates to intervene or try to help. Leaning closer, he whispered encouraging words to the invisible creature inside the shell. He constantly urges it on, saying that there is very little left. With a final loud crack, the egg shattered into pieces, and shards of the shell flew in all directions. The force of hatching pushed the surprised Geo, and it rolled right off the edge of the bed. On the fragment of the now completely broken egg, there remained one large crack. Mid the fragments, a small, fluffy white creature wobbles unsteadily and quietly utters, "Moo." Geo rushes back to the bed, his face shining with pure joy it has hatched. The baby looks tired, and he cannot shake the thought that it might be a monster because it looks like a cat. His joy instantly turns to anxiety. He asks himself in confusion what to do with this weak creature. Suddenly, he is struck by inspiration. A spark lights up his determined eyes. Remembering that milk grows in his garden, he thinks that something nutritious could restore the garden's strength. He swiftly cuts several large fruits, resembling coconuts, that produce milk. He holds one fruit still and prepares to cut it with a sharp knife. A fresh white stream flows from the fruit directly into a shallow bowl placed underneath. It pauses for a moment, inhaling the rich, pleasant aroma of fresh milk. Shaking his head, he tells himself that now is not the time to just admire. Returning inside, he gently offers the bowl to the creature and quietly asks if it can drink. The small, fluffy creature hesitantly begins to lick the milk from the bowl. Its eyes instantly opened wide with a joyful jerk when it tasted the tasty and nutritious liquid. The newborn begins to drink eagerly, greedily swallowing the milk. A broad, relieved smile blossomed on Gio's face. He is grateful that it is finally eating. He is sincerely thankful to his garden. It has become a savior for him. Gio is glad that the creature feels better and encourages it to grow big and strong. His gloved hand reaches out to the curious little white creature's snout. The creature gently rubbed its nose against his hand and purred contentedly. Gio is simply captivated, mentally repeating how incredibly cute and soft the baby is. All his worries fade away. He decides that there is nothing wrong with keeping it as a pet. Suddenly, he remembers the next important task he must complete to come up with a name. Cradling the white creature, he tries out names for it, snow or ice, because its color suggests the choice. The creature, once again full of energy, begins to playfully run around the room. It returns to the bowl for another sip of milk and lets out a happy meow. Watching it drink, Gio suddenly feels a spark of inspiration, and the perfect name comes to mind. Seeing the kitten in the milk, he joyfully exclaimed, "Your name is Milk." Later that evening, Cena says she is going home, and a gentle voice warmly greets him. The red-haired girl froze in shock, her hand covering her mouth in complete surprise. Gio's sister asked what kind of creature it was, and he joyfully exclaimed that he took it in. She is instantly enchanted by the kitten and immediately asks if he found it somewhere. He mysteriously replies that it is more or less a cat, keeping its origin a secret. Cena rushed forward to pet the creature, uncontrollably joyful and calling it cute. The frightened kitten, defending itself, bites hard into the finger of her glove. Cena screams that it bit her, while Gio calmly explains that she was too rough. Gio soothes the kitten, completely ignoring the shock and hurt expression of his sister. She bursts out with a jealous scream, accusing him of caring more about the cat than about her. Cena proudly puffed out her chest, but Gio calmly confused her by saying that milk is masculine. Changing the subject, Gio announces that dinner is ready, presenting a plate for the milk. His sister, seeing the milk from the garden, impatiently asked if she could have some too. Cena greedily gulps down a glass of milk, and the milk happily sloshes in its bowl. She exclaims excitedly how sweet and fragrant the milk is, and it meowed with joy. Gio marvels are the good things he can collect, and a deeper, more thoughtful idea is born in his mind. The three of them shared food at the table, like a small, happy family. The shot opens their home, and Gio quietly reflects on how his family has just grown. Now that his family has expanded, work brings him a completely new, warm satisfaction. Gio entered the apothecary, smiling, and with a handful of extra herbs for Marlene and her assistant. The two women froze in amazement, so many plants, and such variety that their eyes scattered. Marlene quietly whispers that all the herbs he presented are extremely rare and valuable. Her gaze caught on one plant, and she gasped it was chili pepper. Her composer bursts with admiration as she realizes she can make an ice potion. Marlene's assistant explains that the potion cools the body and provides resistance to heat. Gio asked if it would be needed in adventures, and Marlene's expression became tense. She confirms that it will allow adventurers to challenge the formidable volcanic zone. The scene shifts to a suffocating, cave-the entrance to the notorious volcanic zone. The company of Cena stands near the entrance, and Cena herself grumbles because of the unbearable heat. Cena asks about the volcanic area, and another adventure confirms where they have ended up. The leader of the blonde party, SIEFA, explains to her team with a passionate voice 5 interconnected dungeon zones. She says that the underwater zone is the hardest, and no one has overcome it yet. Seifa says that this volcanic zone is the second most severe, and only a few brave ones have conquered it. One of the travelers looks up with curiosity and asks who the conqueror is. Her friend says defeating the area's boss means gaining fame and valuable resources. Another member of the squad aloud asks himself anxiously, will they have enough strength to defeat the boss? Cena emphasizes that heat-resistant equipment is needed to explore this dangerous zone. The partner suggests going home today. He wants to avoid hard work. Saifa caught their attention and showed a small crystal bottle she was holding in her hand. The friend looked in delight at the beautiful potion that sparkled brightly, like solid ice. Zephyr explains that the apothecary Marlin gave her this icy potion as a free sample. She says that if they drink it, fire and heat will not scare them. The team froze, realizing this is their key to entering the volcanic zone. One of them immediately guessed Marlin must have used a precious ingredient called chili grass. In the burning cave, Sinan and Annie exchanged a glance in which understanding suddenly flared up. Zephyr confirms her suspicions. It turns out Gio sold the rare ingredient to the apothecary. Deciding to test the potion, Zephyr uncorks the crystal bottle. A clear click is heard. Piercing cold strikes everyone. You can see them shivering, and someone complains of brain freeze. Chills run through Sifa, her whole body trembles, and this surprises her two companions. With the power of the potion pulsing in her veins, Sifa encourages the team and calls everyone to rush forward. They step into the volcanic zone, a treacherous landscape where a muffled roar echoes ominously. Sif and Annie fixed her gaze on the scorching ground, watching the lava puddles. Cena blissfully stretched and exclaimed that, despite the heat, she felt so cool and fresh. The team walks confidently, joyfully noting that the temperature is just perfect, and sincerely praises the potion. Annie cautiously approaches the boiling lava lake and notices that it seems safe to come closer here. Sifa sharply warned her curious friend, do not touch the molten rock. Suddenly Cena's senses sharpen, and she warns the others about the approaching monsters. Suddenly a pack of fire dogs appears, and the adventurers recognize these blazing, powerful creatures. Warning sounds, beware, these monsters are stronger than anyone you have ever fought. Without blinking, Cena accepts the challenge and rushes forward with her sword, ready to meet them. The blade begins to crackle and glow with a cold, magical light. With a powerful battle cry, Cena leaps into the air and releases a devastating slash. The sword cleanly cuts through the air, carrying the icy power of the potion. After defeating the fire dog with one blow, Cena said in surprise how weak it was. Safa keenly notices that the monster's flame weakens as soon as it touches Cena's blade. Looking at the glowing sword, Cena aloud wonders if this is yet another effect of the potion. The team actively discusses how long the potions will last and their plan to explore these surroundings. Safa lifted the potion bottle. Her face became firm. She is confident that with it they can succeed. United by a common goal, the three travelers resolutely declare their mission is to conquer the volcanic terrain. Returning home, Gio joyfully reports the successful harvest of spicy chili herb with milk on his shoulder. He dreams, imagines how Sifa thanks him, and hopes that these herbs will be useful to her in adventures. Looking at the status screen, Gio notices that he has new skills that he has not yet tried. Realizing that the time has come, he decisively goes to test his new abilities in the garden. He chooses the skill Protective Wall because it seems to him that this is an improved version of his fence generator. A prompt appeared on the holographic screen. Whether he wants to create a wall, he agreed. The earth fiercely trembled, and Gio shouted in shock as he was knocked off his feet. He froze in horror. His house is now surrounded by a huge fortress wall. Gio complains about how strange and overly inflated this wall is, and orders it to go back. The wall moves aside, and he, full of surprise and relief, looks and does not understand how he will even manage to use this. Unafraid, he sticks his head around the corner, ready to try his next move. He turns on the hidden garden, agreeing with the hint that appeared before him. The flickering light washes over his house and garden, but it seems nothing changes. Standing in silence, he wonders why the changes do not happen instantly. He goes to check his crops and at first glance sees nothing has changed. Suddenly he gasps, his eyes widen. He noticed a critical difference in the list. Suddenly he realizes that all his crops, which were once of average quality, are now marked as high quality. Blushing and swallowing saliva, he imagines how much tastier these new crops will become. A weary figure slowly drags his feet down the street, letting out a heavy groan of fatigue. She comes to the place where her home should be, bowing her head in confusion. She complains about how exhausting this volcanic area is and just wants to lie down and sleep. Her face instantly froze in pure shock when she saw the scene before her. The world seemed to warp and stretch in her bewildered state. Giocumly tends his garden, asks Cena what the fuss is about. He meets her with milk in his hands and asks why she is so flustered. Cena panics, hotly demanded to know where their home was and what had happened. Her eyes are wide open in disbelief, with a drop of sweat on her face. She wildly waves her hands toward the completely empty wasteland where their home should have stood. Holding the milk, Gio realizes that his ability to hide the garden works perfectly. He takes her by the hand and says, "Look," preparing to reveal the truth. With a quiet click, the house and garden reappear, and he explains that he was testing his abilities. He awkwardly admits that he cannot use it often, it would scare the neighbors. The notification confirmed, the concealment is lifted, and the house has fully materialized. Cena collapsed from fatigue and confessed that the shock made her think she might have to sleep outside. She jokingly blames Gio for her tiredness, winking that it's because of the herbs he sold to Marlene. Thanks to his help, she explains that she will have to investigate the volcanic zone more thoroughly. Geofield sympathizes, knowing that all he can do is bring supplies while she works hard. He offers a huge banquet as a reward, and the very thought instantly revives Cena. She agrees with explosive enthusiasm. She wants to throw a banquet right now and invite their friends. Geosmiles smiles and tells her that he has the best ace up his sleeve for this occasion. Filled with new motivation, Cena exclaims that she is full of energy and ready to go. At the pharmacy, Marlene waves cheerfully to Sephi, who came to pick up the potion. Back in the dungeon, the team prepares for another assault, driven by the promised banquet. Their exhausting journey leads through a treacherous path, strewn with sharp crystals. They desperately fight a fierce bird monster, repelling its powerful attacks. In a moment of silence, it was shown how God gently watches over the sleeping Santa. The group sneaks through a dark cave. Their adventure continues through impassable terrain. A deafening roar echoed through the caves, a sign that a mighty enemy is approaching. Hiding behind a rock, the team tensed as they discovered the source of the sound. They recognized that massive, shadowy figure, the legendary leader of the Red Lizards. The colossal beast takes a heavy, thunderous step. Power radiates from it. Scenic gas impressed with its enormous size and scales that looked incredibly hard. Another squad member confirmed. He has no record of defeat, so this is their strongest enemy yet. Sifa's determination is unwavering. She firmly says they will fight and be able to win. She explains that their entire plan revolves around Cena, and together they will destroy it. Sifu orders everyone to refill their icy potions so as not to be left without them mid-flight. Cena resignedly accepts her size but agrees to her role, knowing there is no other choice. She takes the last sip and imagines the delicious meal that will await her after their victory. While she drinks, her sword begins to glow with icy magic. The team exchanged a determined Nazi are ready to start the fight. Sepha activates her Empress skills grow stronger, the enemy weakens. The monstrous lizard folk boss let out a terrifying roar that shook the adventurers. It unleashes a powerful stream of fire from its gaping maw in an explosive burst. Cena jumps into the air and delivers a powerful slash that cuts through the flames. She lands safely. The camera looks away from that narrowly avoided moment, and Seifa warns her to be careful. The boss staggered for a moment but quickly recovered and let out a low growl, preparing for the next strike. Cena holds her breath, her face focused as she stands face to face with the formidable beast. Sepha understands Boss Vulcan is wary of Cena. He felt her true power. From the shelter, Annie glances at the confrontation and knows she must act. Completely hiding her presence, she prepares to break a path for her team. She admits that her hunting skills are not for combat, but she has another role. The dagger is firm in her hand. She waits for the perfect moment to strike. Vulcan lunged at Cena, and Annie instantly realized this is her chance to strike. A silent, understanding glance passed between Annie and Sifa. They acted as one perfectly synchronized. Sifa's hand shines with power. She unleashes her authority and commands the beast to bow. The red-haired traveler Annie swiftly descended from above and launched a daring sudden attack. Her dagger, glowing with an icy aura, hovered, ready to deliver the decisive blow. From afar, her friends watch as Sifa shouts, "Annie," and anxiety is heard in her voice. Landing gracefully, Annie shines with joy. Her attack successfully wounded the creature. Sifa enthusiastically praises the perfect coordination of their unexpected attack, proof that they work as one. Accepting the compliment, Annie receives praise from Cifa for a job well done. On the other side of the battlefield, the wounded Vulcan struggles to stand, snorting with rage. Three warriors become a single fist, picking up Cephas's statement. Now they go into battle at full strength. After a brilliant victory, the squad finally arrives at the majestic building of the Adventurers Guild. Inside, the hall is bustling with life. Adventurers are bustling about, each busy with their own affairs. The friendly receptionist Canalia noticed a familiar face and warmly greeted him. Sifa, Annie, and Cena approached the counter and smiled in response to the receptionist's greeting. Canalia, with a sparkle of curiosity in her eyes, asks about the new member she noticed in Cephas's party. Sifa confirmed. She calls this girl her childhood friend Cena. The receptionist mentally estimates that the Sifo squad will probably still have trouble exploring the dungeon. Meanwhile, Cena amusingly drools, daydreaming about the next dish. The scoundrel, with a condescending smile, wishes luck to the novice adventurer, who seems weak. She then asks what their business is. Cefa replies that they are here to report. Annie places a massive dark scale on the counter with a heavy, dull thud. The scoundrel froze in disbelief. Ahead stretched an incredibly huge scale. Annie explains this scale is from that very infamous volcano monster. Cefa directly reports they conquered the boss from the volcanic zone. The receptionist was momentarily speechless. Her facial expression became completely blank. Her face suddenly twisted into a mask of pure, genuine shock. She screamed in disbelief, and the girls gently admonished her for the loudness. After reviewing the evidence, she is convinced it is from an unimaginably large red lizard man. She aloud wonders if some stronger side had their back. Three girls stand together and proudly announce their joint victory. Cefa asks the rescue team to retrieve the monster's body. New information pushes Canel into a panic. Special equipment is urgently needed. And he calmly reassures the confused receptionist not to worry about this trifle. She pulls out their miraculous icy potion, and now this area can be safely explored. Canalia sways, knocked off her feet by the impossible, unprecedented achievements of the party. The news stunned her. The guild receptionist trembled with disbelief and tension. She stumbled away from the table and, sobbing, begged the guild leader to come immediately. One of the rescue team members nervously takes a sip of that special elixir. He exclaimed to his comrades in shock that the heat of the volcano had completely disappeared. Three young women sincerely thanked the men for their help and offered to show the way. The rescue team still doubted. Could only the potion have brought victory? One man thoughtfully reflects on Cefa's reputation, a B-rank genius and a rising star. He cannot believe that this group of young girls really managed to defeat the legendary volcano. The men suddenly freeze, their faces contort in utter shock at what they see. Before them lies a huge, defeated corpse of the monstrous volcano. One of the team members confirmed without any doubt, the giant beast is a real volcano. One of the girls asks if the flawless condition of these materials impresses him. Another man shouted, unable to contain his surprise. He had just discovered something important in the creature's body. He is shocked when he sees that the incredibly hard scales of the volcanoes are cut through. They assumed it was Birang Sifa, but she shook her head, denying it. The next guest was Annie. She also waved it off, saying she was not a skilled swordswoman. Completely baffled, the rescue team cannot figure out who else it could have been. They laugh at the very thought that it was Santa, dismissing her as a mere novice. With a bright smile, Cena raises her hand and joyfully exclaims that it was her. She poses with explosive energy. She added that the volcano was the strongest enemy she had ever had to fight. The men froze speechless, their heads spinning from her impossible statement. Cena proudly shows Gio a huge pile of jangling magical stones that she earned as a reward. She asked for praise, and he gladly agreed, gently stroked her head. Their cat Milk quietly meowed, asking to be petted too. While Gio happily ruffles Milk's fur, Cena puffs up the cat did not deserve this. She jokingly insists that her presence should be just as refreshing for her brother. Suddenly, Gio was struck by the realization. Milk noticeably grew in just a few days. He is shocked by how big this creature is for a cat, and Cena looks embarrassed. When he suggests they use the stones to raise the garden level, cold sweat breaks out on his forehead. Suddenly, a notification flashed on the screen. Geo leveled up and gained a new skill. The news filled him with joy. He is delighted and eagerly thinks about which new crops he can now grow. He discovers in his list a new and incomprehensible skill called Travel Between. Reading the list of new cultures, he notices copper or gold among them. A dazzling menu appeared, showing new items that can be grown, ores, and medium-quality gems. The words gold or flash are pronounced with dramatic emphasis, highlighting the most shocking detail. The comic horror of Geostar wavered before the new incredible power of his home garden. Panic flares up in him as he realizes what it means to grow such valuable materials. With a nervous smile, he decides to ignore this turn and brush it off, closing the menu. Cena notices his strange behavior, but he changes the subject and does not announce a break in the adventures. He suggests inviting Sifa and Annie over, and in Cena, an excited realization instantly sparks. Geograns confirms her suspicion and calls the plan his secret weapon. Later, a sizzling frying pan is brought, signaling the start of the feast in honor of their victory. An incredible variety of dishes covers the entire table, a true luxurious banquet. Cena shines with delight, exclaims how wonderful everything looks, and Sefa is stunned. Geo says that Alicia helped, but she winks and says that all the ingredients are thanks to his garden. Alicia promises endless food and a scene of applause, ready to eat her film. Sifa sincerely thanks for the incredible meal and warm invitation. The group raised their glasses and loudly toasted to the conquest of the volcanic zone. Annie takes a strong sip from the mug, a steak sizzles before her. Her attention is instantly captured by an incredible hamburger steak on the plate. Cena is almost drooling with anticipation, and Safa agrees that it looks delicious. Geo proudly says that he prepared that dish from his new first-class harvest. Just one bite and three women, frozen in shock, found themselves in cosmic emptiness. And a creepy silence falls. Everyone at the table freezes, utensils hang in the air. Annie's fork fell from her hands, it clanged loudly, and her face became a mask of complete shock. Geo panics, having tasted whether the food tastes bad, completely confused by their reaction. The planet in space in the image is their experience, which seems completely out of this world. Sefa's eyes are wide open, burning with tension, and she decisively says, "Everything is completely the opposite." Cena explodes, "The food is so delicious that I will faint from it." She eagerly devours the dish, exclaiming that she cannot stop. This food is incredibly tasty. Sifa is also enchanted. She would like to eat this flavor forever. Dinner turns into a real chaos when Annie and Cena start fighting for a second serving. Geo shouts for them to pull themselves together, horrified by their piercing looks. He realizes with horror that his high-quality crops are dangerously tasty. The dish is remade from less potent, medium-quality ingredients to restore order again. Cena happily tastes the new dish, enthusiastically praising its perfect combination of flavors. Annie eats eagerly, exclaiming that the food is exactly what is needed, and Sitha enjoys the juiciness of the meat. The group jokingly discusses dangerously delicious, first-class harvests, fearing that wars might break out because of them. The blonde named Sifa gently smiled and spoke to a friend sitting opposite at the table. She sincerely thanks Geo and beams with joy. Receiving such a pleasant reward was true happiness for her. But soon he realizes something important of the meat. The group jokingly discusses He explains that it is the least he can do. She took such good care of Cena. Cephas, biting into a large chicken leg, corrects him. Cena is incredibly talented. And he agreed. They overcame the volcanic zone so quickly only thanks to Cena's powerful gift. The plate quietly stuck to the fluff of Geosetset, and finally he realized what his sister was truly capable of. Cena shines with pride, joyfully tastes the food, and enjoys the friend's praise for her achievements. A new sense of purpose arises in Geo's mind. He understands that he can do something for them. The sudden clink of a plate snaps him out of his thoughts as he begins clearing the empty plates. He was already leaving the table when Cephas stood up and called him by name, stopping him. Closing her eyes, she thanks not only Cine from the bottom of her heart, but also him. She explains that without his special icy elixirs, they would not have been able to challenge the volcanic zone. Looking him straight in the eyes, she said that he also has considerable strength. Wyden Geosia shone with surprise and emotion when she sincerely acknowledged his contribution. Annie picked up, smiling and jokingly adding that his help with organization and healing potions was also very important. Cena enthusiastically agrees and says how hard it is for adventurers to get deep into the dungeon. Sifa gently stroked Geo on the head and said, "Sit down and I'll take care of the rest." Overwhelmed with happiness but embarrassed, the blushing Geo can only stammer a whisper of agreement to her gentle offer. He is overcome with a sense of belonging. He understands that he is already part of their company, even if he does not go on adventures. Outside, we see a cozy house, a sign that the festive meal has ended. Cena and Annie lean back in their chairs, full and satisfied after an incredible banquet. The guests thank Alicia for the wonderful cuisine, and she smiles, noting how much they ate. The travelers are eagerly discussing how to finally take a well-deserved rest after a series of recent victories. Learning that their break is over, Geoglance silently wonders what plans Sifa has for her free time. The group begins to leave the restaurant, and Cena waves goodbye with a smile as he exits. Siva says that she and Cena are leaving and are just saying a friendly goodbye to Geo. Just as he turns to leave, Sifa suddenly grabs his sleeve firmly and unexpectedly, stopping him in his tracks. Her face is serious. She clings to his vest, wants to truly thank him for everything. Geo's heart pounds wildly in his chest. He is completely confused by her sudden and passionate gesture. While Sifar is thanking him, an exciting thought flashes through his mind. What if she likes him? Shyly lowering her eyes, she said she would like them to go together tomorrow. The hint strikes Geo like a shockwave, is absolutely sure she means a date. The next morning the sun shines brightly over the town, as if preparing everything for their walk. Geo, sparkling with anticipation, carefully adjusts the bow tie of his elegant suit. His sister Santa and John notice his impeccable clothing. This marks the beginning of his mysterious date. He gently offers the cat milk and kindly asks Sienna to take care of him today. With a sweeping farewell wave, he apologizes in advance if he returns only late. Whistling cheerfully, he walks down the street, completely confident that he is going on a date with Sifu. Romantic fantasies bloom in his mind about how they visit stylish, cozy places with her by his side. He imagines them raising glasses in a perfectly created romantic atmosphere, just the two of them. His face glows with sincere, unrestrained admiration. He simply cannot wait for the day to begin. He sharply snaps out of his dreams upon seeing Sifu waiting for him in the square. Her long blonde hair gently sways in the wind as she turns to meet him approaching. Waiting patiently under the tree, Sefa gently greets him with a simple and pleasant good morning. Seeing her standing there, Geo's heart pounds powerfully, and his cheeks instantly flush with a blush. He rushes to her, apologizing for making her wait, and she smiles and says she just arrived. For him, this simple, polite conversation feels like the beginning of a real date. He asked where she wanted to go, but she admitted that she had already thought it all through. Since this is her way of thanking him, she confidently says, "Leave everything to me." Geo gets drunk with joy, delighted that Sifa has prepared an entire date plan just for him. Everything is decided, and they finally set off together on the long-awaited walk. He walks beside her, absolutely sure that they will have a wonderful day today. The first stop was a large, formidable, and slightly gloomy building with iron gates. Geo's cheerful expression faded, replaced by complete confusion and deep disappointment. He recognizes that gloomy, overgrown building Marlin's pharmacy, and it makes him very uneasy. Sefa enters inside without hesitation, leaving the depressed Geo to follow, gripped by fear. A cheerful girl in a yellow uniform greets them with a smile and says how rarely she sees them alone. Sefa calmly explains that they are just looking around the shop for now. The servant's eyes suddenly lit up with insight, and she begins to ask if they are on a date. They stand awkwardly in a dusty pharmacy. There is nothing romantic here at all. The maid correctly reads Geo's expression about the paint and understands. This is definitely not a place for dates. A confirmation flashed through Geo's mind. He is disappointed. This is definitely not a place for a date. He silently watches as Sifa browses the shelves, and with curiosity wonders what exactly are they doing here together. Sifa continues to examine the goods. Her profile is calm and fully focused on the task. Suddenly she turns and blinks, completely catching him off guard, and asks if he is having fun. Surprised by her direct question, Geo stammered and shyly whispered an affirmative yes. As if satisfied with his answer, she returns to the shelves, unaware that he had just been intently watching her. The two stand awkwardly among bottles of potions and jars. Why they came is a complete mystery. When they were leaving, the smiling maid stood in the doorway and cheerfully waved at them, inviting them to return. CIFA immediately announces the next stop, the weapons store, once again shattering J.O.'s romantic hopes. He looks irritated as Sefa silently gazes again at the displayed goods. The strange pattern repeats again. She asks if he is having fun, and he agrees every week that he is. He stands there completely confused, not understanding what their strange outing was about at all. Geomuses thinks that dates usually take place in fashionable clothing stores, not among exhibitions of adventure gear. The good-natured elderly shop owner greeted them with a warm, inviting smile and invited them inside. He says with a smile that he just received new equipment and invites Sepha to try it on. Jo and Sepha stand aside and watches the shopkeeper with a sly smile offers to try on and show the new equipment. Sepha tries on 2 sets of armor, one heavy and sturdy, the other stunningly light and 2 revealing. Now in the revealing outfit, she turns to Gio and asks which one he thinks looks best on her. Blushing deeply, Gio looks away and stammers that she looks best in her usual clothes. A moment of disappointment flashed across Sepha's face at that evasive, embarrassed answer. They leave the shop empty-handed. Sepha simply says that she doesn't need anything. It turned out that their final stop was the Adventurers Guild, and this completely broke Gio's spirit. In the noisy hall, Seph points to the lobby and to the end, located on the 2nd floor. Then she mentions the training hall in the basement and invites him to go down and take a look. Gio led her down the stairs, descending anxiously into the lower levels of the guild. Suddenly a commotion erupts around other adventurers, recognize the famous B-rank Sifa in the crowd. Gio is stunned when he learns that Cifa is a well-known and respected figure here. His heart skipped a beat for a moment at the very thought that he was on a date with such a celebrity. Seifa sharply jerked his head forward and barked at him, ordering him to focus like a strict sergeant. Nearby, the instructor picked up her thought and sternly warned the recruit about the danger of losing attention. Jill stands next to Sifa. The atmosphere is tense and not at all romantic or relaxed. In the training hall, someone is practicing archery. The arrow flies accurately to the target. Sifa throws a spear with incredible strength. It sinks into the target next to the exhausted warrior. She looks along the rifleman's line, her face showing sharp, unwavering concentration and skill. Gio scans the hall, watches these sparrings, and cannot comprehend what this is supposed to be at all. A wave of sadness covers him as he realizes this is definitely not a date. His romantic fantasy shatters when he understands that only he took this for a date. In J.O.'s head, everything spins from embarrassment over Sifa's mysterious proposal to go somewhere. A close-up reveals the calm, unreadable expression on Kefiz's face, who stands next to him. She turns into a fool as soon as he is happy, and he stammers and barely says yes. From the other end of the corridor, Gio sees a group of boys whispering among themselves. They encourage their nervous, fidgety friend, pull yourself together and take your chance. The boy timidly approaches, and Gio immediately decides that he is going to confess to Sifa. Instead, the boy resolutely swears and asks Sifo to become his training partner. Sifa calmly agrees to the duel, and Gio eagerly asks if he can watch. In the large training hall of Stonewall, a rack with training shields stands ready. Nearby, numerous training swords are neatly lined up in stands. A young contender chooses a sword, preparing to face a skilled opponent. Gio nervously swallows and realizes he is seeing Sifa fight for the first time. With a determined shout, the boy lunges forward to start the training fight. Sifa easily parries his flurry of strikes with a long spear. Her feet glide across the stone floor with refined grace and lightning speed. She smoothly dodges a wide swing, her face remaining calm and focused. With a sharp strike, she skillfully knocks the sword from the opponent's hands. Her movements are flawless. After the disarming blow, she expertly spins the spear. The boy's eyes are wide with shock. Her incredible and stunning skill simply mesmerized them. She decisively stopped her weapon, and the lightning-fast exchange ended. The defeated boy sits on the floor and humbly admits that she is stronger. Gio and the other spectators let out a collective, excited gasp. Wow. He watches her smooth movements with admiration and thinks to himself, she is just incredibly cool. Applauding enthusiastically, Gio sincerely rejoices that he was lucky to see her during the distant adventure. Another young woman approaches and sincerely asks Sifu if she minds training with her next. The girl looks disappointed when Sefa politely declines and says that's all for now. Sifa announced to the audience that she has important plans today. Leaving the hall, J.O. asks Sifu if she is done for now. When she asks if he is hungry, his hopes for a trendy cafe come alive. His hopes are instantly shattered. They enter the same restaurant as yesterday again. The waitress cheerfully waves the menu, greeting them with a simple and sincere welcome as they come inside. Annie looks at them in surprise and asks why J.O. and CF are here together. Gio suddenly remembered that Annie had said she would help in her family's restaurant. Annie quickly tugs Gio by the hand and leads him aside to say something in private. She whispers to ask him if he is alone with Sifa. Her gaze sharpens abruptly, and she insistently demands to know if they are on a date. Gio categorically denies and insists there is no special reason for their outing. He explains that CFA chose all the places, but it still doesn't feel like a date. Despite being confused, he admits to Annie that he had a lot of fun. He admits perplexedly, "I just don't feel like this is a date." Annie turns and glances at Sifa, who is patiently waiting at the table. Cephas is calm, indifferent to the lively chatter in the restaurant. A gentle, calm smile played on her face as she waited for Gio's return. Annie's eyes narrow thoughtfully as she assesses this strange situation. She sharply says to Gio, "You are about 100 years too early to go on a date with Sifa." Her sharp words left Gio completely broken. He falls into a pit of despair when he realizes that Sifa is beyond his reach. Returning to the table, he muttered that he and Annie talked about nothing special. Hunched over the menu, he laments that she would have chosen more special places. Sifa looks at him calmly across the table, but a slight worry wanders in her gaze. She asks if he feels empty or tired, and he admits that he does. She looked at him with a direct gaze, simple and sincere. She advises him not to worry, some tasty food will definitely lift his spirits. Her unexpectedly simple kindness causes a small warm giggle in Gio. He felt lighter at heart. He gladly agreed that they should order a lot of food. He decides that it really doesn't matter whether it's a date or not. The most important thing is that he can still be by her side and spend time with her. Then Annie and her sister stood in the restaurant doorway and waved goodbye to them. They walked together through the sunny, cozy city square, enjoying the quiet, peaceful atmosphere. After a delicious meal, Geofield feels much better, rubbing his full belly contentedly. Sifud says that Lucas's restaurant is the best she knows, possibly even the best in the world. Gio froze in silence at her sincere confession, his cheeks blushing. Suddenly he is struck by the realization. For her, this was a special and important place. Saifa turns to him, her face slightly frowning because of his silence. They both started apologizing at the same time, a little embarrassed and awkward. The expression on Cephas's face took on a shade of sadness and anxiety. She quietly asked if he had been upset because of her before. Standing in the square, she awkwardly apologizes for having poorly planned their day. She explains that she wanted to thank him by taking him to all her favorite places. Gio finally understands her simple, sincere intentions behind their strange route. He understands that all the places they visited were special and important to Cepha. She admits that she even thought about taking him to the dungeon, but considered it too dangerous. Gio quietly laughs, enjoying her straightforward thinking. He quietly laughed her arguments, and fearlessness truly made him laugh. Cepha looks at him with hope and directly asks if he had a good time. He enthusiastically confirms that he did, sincerely assuring her that it is true. He says that with her, he will have fun wherever they go. Surprise froze in Cepha's eyes. His sincere words sounded like a confession. Gio immediately panicked when he realized how much his words sounded like a confession. Cepha's face blossomed into a radiant, truly sincere smile. She was deeply touched. Gio smiles gently, thinking, she is both cool and clumsy. He realized that it was a wonderful day. He saw new, unexpected facets in her. Sifa says there is one last place she wants to take him. With a dramatic rumble, she announced their final destination, her home. Gio's heart pounds. He panics and wonders if she wants to introduce him to her parents. She explained directly, it's just another one of her favorite places. As they approach, a panic scream bursts from inside the building. Bad news, boss. Both understood that the cry for help came from the workshop ahead. Jael recalls that Sifa's family runs a famous forge. Sifa rushed forward, her voice trembling, and asked her father what was happening with the commotion. Her burly father from Harry Chester, a blacksmith named Billy, warmly welcomes her home. Billy asks who Gio is, and the young man introduces himself. Billy recognizes him and energetically pats him on the head. His eyes squinted when he realized that his daughter came with a boy. He explodes with overly protective rage and demands to know if they are on a date. CFA tries to distract the father and direct his attention to a much more urgent problem. Others mistakenly claimed that they are in real trouble and completely lost. A powerful step with a crunch sounded on the ground near the entrance to the workshop. A sinister silhouette appears and remarks on how loud they are. The uninvited guest steps into the light, demanding to know where his money is. In the forge, a bald man in a vest with a fur collar named Hacia asks why he came. Hacia announces that he will deal with the loan that has been overdue for 3 months, and Gio is shocked. The blacksmith insists he will pay. He took on a large order precisely for this reason. A close-up shows tense, unwavering determination in the blacksmith's eye. A large rack full of freshly forged swords stands as proof of their hard work. The blacksmith quietly whispers to Gio and Sephi that the merchant who ordered the swords has disappeared. Huset teases the blacksmith, pretending to care whether he will be able to repay his debt to him. With a sly smile, Hasia hints that he knows the client has already fled. The blacksmith does not back down an inch, while Hasia, with a mocking smile, insists that he is the legitimate lender. Geofields considers Hasio's actions suspicious and questions his true intentions. Clenching his teeth in despair, the blacksmith begs for a little more time. He coldly refuses, stating that he will wait no longer and intends to close the workshop. The blacksmith passionately defends his family's legacy, but Huzzah offers instead. He makes a vile proposal. Instead of the debt, the blacksmith must give him his daughter. Sepha looks on and freezes in silence, asking herself if she is the price of this debt. Her father stands speechless, his face a mask of shock and disbelief. Jo suddenly lunged at Siva and, shouting, attacked Hasia because of his ridiculous proposal. Huzzy turns with a threatening look and angrily asks what Yo just told him. Geo sharply recoiled, his body frozen by sudden, fierce terror. Panic grips him. He realizes he blurted out without thinking, and Hasia is approaching menacingly. The blacksmith's hand suddenly shoots forward, authoritatively ordering Hasia to wait. He reminds the lender that the term has not yet expired and tells him to go home. Hasia lets out an ominous laugh and amusingly admits that the opponent is right. As he leaves, he gives them 3 days to scrape together the money. The group watches him walk away, a heavy burden of deadlines looming over them. The blacksmith runs in and shouts that the Merchants Guild found no record of their client. The blacksmith pounds his fist on the table, realizing that Hasia arranged a fake order. He sincerely apologizes to Geo for dragging him into this, and Geo tensely asks what is going on. The blacksmith begins to explain, and on his face fatigue and tension. He tells how recent problems with new clients drove the workshop into deep debt. One night, no longer knowing what to do, he found himself in a tavern all alone and in despair. A man approached him who called himself creditor Hasia and made an offer. The blacksmith explains that this is how Hasia first caught his attention. He bitterly laments that Hasia, who seemed so ready to help, actually forced him to continue the loan. The other smiths are shocked. They accuse their boss of being too trusting. Billy admits with a bitter sigh that they have no evidence that Hasia is behind their misfortune. Geo stands apart from the group, feeling that something is deeply wrong with this situation. He cannot help but wonder if Hasia has some hidden motive when she wants the old workshop. Geo realized that Hasia is deliberately putting obstacles in their way, not letting them pay off the debt. The sinister image of Hasia suggests another, even more troubling possibility. Jo withdraws Hasia as a proposal for SIFA, understanding that the 3-day deadline is unrealistic. He returns to the depressed blacksmith and resolutely decides to do something. Geo hesitantly caught the blacksmith's attention. He inquired how much he would have to pay out of his own pocket and said he would help if the amount was not too large. Geo, full of optimism, offers to give several dozen gold coins from the proceeds of his harvest. The blacksmith raises 5 fingers, preparing to announce a devastating amount. He loudly says the debt is 500 gold coins. The whole group froze, silently stunned by the unthinkable amount. Above them hangs the word despair, and the debt seems insurmountable. A heavy, depressed silence spread throughout the workshop. Later, they notice Sifa and Jo walking away along the cracked stone path. She apologizes for asking him for help, but he vows to do everything in his power. Sifa quietly gives a grateful smile and thanks him for his unwavering support. Walking alone through the city, Jo anxiously thinks that Hase's true goal might be SIFO. He is in despair. Having sold only the harvest, he will not be able to help. Suddenly, an idea flashed in his mind. He considers whether to use that special ability. He would very much like to consult with the merchant Laruka, but does not know where she is. Realizing that waiting is not an option, he decided he must find her immediately. He firmly resolved to visit the Merchant Guild building and inquire about her. He steps into the noisy guild hall, full of chatter and human bustle. The clerk tells him that Lyra Caleria is an elusive merchant. No one knows her whereabouts. Geo is upset, explaining that his matter with her is extremely urgent. The clerk apologizes again and says that he has no idea where to look for her at all. Geo turns away from the counter. His plans seem to have failed. A cheerful voice calls him by name. Laruka miraculously appeared, jumping up to meet him. Geo's face glows with sincere, undivided relief and joy. He, embarrassed by this incredible coincidence, tells her that he was just looking for her. They find a quiet bench outside, sit down, and tensely begin discussing the urgent matter. Laruka listens attentively and understands that the situation is quite serious. Gio rummages through his bag and tells her that he has something he asks her to examine. He pulls out a large, shiny lump of raw, unprocessed ore. Laruka's eyes widen in absolute shock when she recognizes it as gold ore. Gio calmly says that he grew it in his garden, and she is completely stunned. He asked if selling it in large quantities would be enough to pay off the debt. Laruka looks thoughtful, a quiet exclamation of understanding on her lips. She tells him that his plan will be very difficult to carry out, and it confuses him. She explains that all gold mines are strictly controlled by the country and its lords. Gio is shocked his brilliant solution instantly became useless. He settles on his feet and asks, "What other options could I have?" Laruka touched her chin with a finger and thoughtfully searched for another way out. She asks if he can grow other types of ores as well. He says he can grow many of them. Her eyes lit up with a new idea, and she asks if he has some mithril. She explains that mithril forms where mana is too dense, for example, in dungeons. The camera shifts, we find ourselves outside Gio's house in garden. Laruka warns, selling raw mithril will still look suspicious, this substance is too rare. Triumphantly raising a finger, she exclaimed that she has a good idea. Gio does not hide his deep anxiety, the 3-day deadline is approaching too fast. Laruka smiles confidently, reassures him and says, "Leave everything to me." Gio looks at her, assessing her confident and skillful manner. He smiles and agrees, fully trusting her abilities. He stated in the workshop that he counts on her to succeed. A feeling of complete defeat and resignation prevails in the forge. Billy shows a meager pile of coins and sincerely admits that it is by no means enough for the entire debt. He resigned himself to losing the workshop, this May to the great joy of Sifas. Gio and Laruka appear, and she introduces herself as a merchant with an order. Billy tries to send her away, explaining that they are closing today. Laruka insists that he listen first, rummaging in her bag in search of her offer. She displays a huge pile of mithril ore, and the gathered blacksmiths freeze in amazement. She offers them a mythical rule in exchange for an order of 200 sets of weapons. Billy looks at the contract, not believing his eyes, shocked by the incredible price she offers. CIFA understands that the incredible order for 200 sets of weapons will save their workshop. And her father instantly became nervous. He fears that this deal is actually a deceptive trap. Lyrica notices his fatigue and sincerely admits that they have just met. She suddenly confesses that the deal was entrusted to her by Gio and asks if he trusts him. Sifa looked at her father. He was holding the contract, and a deep anxiety settled on his face. She firmly tells her father that everything is fine because she trusts Gio. In Jo, it is visible how he was moved by the simple and powerful confession of faith. The blacksmith recalls how Gio bravely stood up for Sifa. With a confident smile, Laruka extends her hand to seal the agreement. His determination hardened. The blacksmith firmly shakes her hand, accepting the offer. Lyrica happily says that she will pay for the order now. A heavy pouch jingled, revealing a treasure of shiny, valuable platinum coins. Gio and SEFA froze in shock. They knew that only nobles use such currency. Gio understands that Laruka never told him who her mysterious and influential client was. Filled with relief, the blacksmith triumphantly clenched his fist in the gloves. He runs out of the workshop, determined to confront Hacia immediately. Suddenly, a sinister voice stops him and asks, "Where are you rushing to?" Hacia, the usurer, steps forward and blocks the blacksmith's path. His gang of thugs bursts into the yard, their boots crunch on the ground. Hacia mockingly taunts them, sarcastically asking if they weren't planning to flee the city. The blacksmith, Sifa, and Yo are shocked by their sudden and uninvited appearance. Hacia reminds them that today is the promised day of debt repayment. The blacksmith quietly warns Sefa to stay away because he fears those men are after her. Gio mentally decides that this will be for the best. He orders CIFA in a firm voice to stay in the workshop. It's safe here. A tense confrontation flared up in the yard, and someone anxiously peeked from the threshold. The blacksmith handed over a pouch with the inscription, "Debt 500 gold coins." Haitian's people were simply stunned upon recognizing the valuable platinum coins. A small hand waves joyfully and sends a friendly greeting. Laruka playfully peeks out and explains that she was only the intermediary in the deal. He was boiling with rage, not believing that someone could have gathered such an amount so quickly. Laruka begins to say who this client is. A cruel smile spreads across Hase's face as he announces that he forgot about the interest. He mocks the blacksmith, teasing him about all those deferred payments he supposedly gave. With a loud rumble, he declares, the new amount is 1,500 gold coins. Laruka and Gio screamed in shock upon seeing the incredibly tripled amount. The blacksmith fiercely protests, but Hacia waves him off, insisting that this is the real amount. One of Hacia's thugs mockingly says that one workshop won't be enough to cover this. Hacia finally reveals his true intentions. He demands the blacksmith's daughter as additional payment. Gio's eyes widened in shock. It slowly dawned on him when they offered him a vial. The blacksmith's face twisted with pure rage. He swears that Hacia will get Sif only over his dead body. Hacia's gang steps forward, and their leader quietly and confidently warns, "Do not resort to violence." Standing in the doorway, Sepha watches the confrontation, a drop of sweat on her face. The blacksmith sees someone quietly muttering, "Son of a bitch," under their breath about Hacia. Gio stepped forward, stood between the groups, and loudly ordered them to stop. A tense confrontation begins between Gio and the much larger usurer. Gio shouted with fierce determination that he would never allow this. Hacia froze for a moment, surprised by the boy's sudden defiance. One of his thugs rushed forward to push Gio out of the way. The hooligan instantly recognizes Gio, the same brat from last time. Pazzi intervenes, grabs J.O. by the collar and threatens to beat him. Not intending to back down, Gio's hand clenches into a tight fist. From the door, a worried CIFA calls out Gio's name. Gio shouts that this concerns him because Sifa belongs to him. Prashur's friend a statement that surprised and moved Sifa. Heziat tightens his grip, preparing to strike the rebellious youth. Suddenly, a joyful voice cuts through the rising tension. Lyrica interrupts the fight and asks them for a moment. She gives the group of bandits a disarming, calm smile. Rustling in her bag, she says, "There is something I forgot to mention earlier." She unfolds the document, and there it suddenly turns out that the customer is the master of this land himself. The exposure exploded. A wave of shock swept through Hacia's gang at the Koval. A mask of disbelief froze on Hacia's face as he replayed this powerful name in his mind. Gio was just as stunned. The view of the Lord's castle emphasized all his power. In the luxurious office, a silhouette sighs plaintively, saying he cannot refuse La Rauca. The image confirms that the Lord himself personally took part in this deal. Koval friendly patted Gio on the shoulder, bringing him back to reality. He squints and looks closely at the document that La Rauca is holding. He firmly says, "The coat of arms on the document really belongs to the Lord." La Rauca calmly explains that any word about unfair payment will reach the Lord. She asked with a sweet smile if it would be uncomfortable for him because of this. Hacia grits his teeth in silent anger as his people begin to nervously chatter. The blacksmith decisively said that he would take the same 500 coins. He abruptly snatches the bag of money from Hacia's hand. Having suffered defeat, Hacia clicked his tongue in frustration and ordered his team to retreat. Gio in the forge watches as the bandits retreat down the road. Gio begins to suffocate, the adrenaline from the clash finally leaving him. He falls to his hands and knees, acknowledging how terrible this ordeal was. The blacksmith helps him up and admits that the boy's courage surprised him. Gio returns to Sifa, who has just come out, and apologizes for his weak performance. He smiles, relief visible. Everything eventually turned out well. Suddenly Cephas hugs him tightly and sincerely. Gio's eye amusingly bulged, completely shocked by the unexpected gesture. The blacksmith from Lyrica watched as everything unfolded, and his eyes showed amazed admiration. Sifa thanks him and explains that her father's workshop is now safe. Jael trembles, completely confused. Stammering says that Sifa just hugged him. The blacksmith loudly praises Lyrica. She secured an order from the Lord. La Rauca modestly brushes off the compliment, saying it's nothing special. J.O. stands next to SCPHA and is glad he could help. Lyrica smiled and explained that she was happy to help because Gio tried so hard. The blacksmith slapped Gio on the back and praised him for chivalry. Gio Gaz, a blush of horror spread across his face. He becomes incredibly embarrassed. He realizes that he probably said something offensive to Sifa. He wildly waves his hands, trying to apologize to her. Sifa calmly tells him that she misheard, she was too far away. Lyrica tries to repeat his words, but Gio frantically interrupts her. Koval sincerely thanks Gio again for saving everyone. Gio smiles and insists that it was not necessary at all. He blushes, admitting that her hugs were more than enough for him. A gentle, relieved smile spread across Gio's face. He feels calm. The cheerful merchant lifts important papers and shows Gio a sign and a friendly okay. Merchants J.O. and CIFA leave the workshop, their business settled. Elsewhere, a fist strikes loudly. A man angrily scolds a tiny merchant. The bald usurer fumes with rage. His carefully planned schemes are now completely ruined. He knows that he must not tell his boss about this huge failure. The blonde subordinate nervously reports that he found the place the merchant regularly visits. He says it is the house where a brother and sister who have just become adults live. The subordinate confirms that the brother is the same young man who was seen with the merchant. A vile idea flashes in the leader's head while he expresses his contempt for Geo. A sinister plan is born. They will capture Geo and use him as bait. Inside the pharmacy, Denny's, with a radiant smile, joyfully announced that he managed to create a new potion the color of the sky. He asked Marlon what it does, and she only said, "Try it yourself." Eagerly accepting the role of assistant, Denny's agrees to test the potion. He swallows the potion and says it bubbles strangely and pleasantly in his mouth. Then Marlon sternly orders him to dip his face into the bowl of water standing nearby. Confused but compliant, Denny's agrees to the strange request. He suddenly plunged his face into the water with a loud splash. Submerged, he suddenly opened his eyes in shock and realized he could breathe. He excitedly tells Marlon that he can breathe underwater, and she explains it as a water potion. Dennis recalls that it was Geo who brought them those rare air flowers. Marlon, with a firm voice, confirms these flowers are a rare ingredient that blooms only at great heights. Dennis wonders, how does Geo manage to get such incredible things? He notices how Marlon secretly tries to slip away with the elixir and water. Dennis called her by name. His voice was sharp and made her stop in her tracks. He asked what she was going to do with that water in the bottle. Marlon dramatically wails and says she has a strange intention to keep them as her personal treasures. Their heated argument is suddenly interrupted by the appearance of the adventurer Sifa in the shop doorway. Marlon and Dennis gasped. They were surprised by the sudden guest. Overcome with panic, Marlon instantly dashed off and took the evidence. She throws the bowl of water through the back door. Water splashes, and her cry of despair breaks out. Dennis greets Sifa with a relieved smile, while Marlon quietly sobs behind. Sifa asks if something happened, but Dennis immediately dismisses it. To distract her, Dennis brings up the new potion that Marlon just prepared. Smoke calmly curls from the chimney of the quiet house. A large white creature, resembling a wolf, lifted its nose and carefully sniffed the air outside. The creature named Milk trots into the hut to eat. Milk meows and gently nudges the owner's leg with a paw when dinner is served. On the plate is served a browned fried macropike, Milk's favorite food. Cena pouted, looking, and noticed how much milk there was now. She grumbles that now it can't be lifted anymore. It has become so big from eating so much. Geo thinks to himself that it's because the milk is a monster hatched from an egg. He believes that the milk is not dangerous because it is firmly attached to him. Geo gently ruffled Milk's fur, smiling and noting how spoiled this creature is growing. Cena looks next to Envy and, feeling jealous, exclaims that she also wants to pet him. When she approaches, Milk lunges at her with a fierce growl. Cena grumbles that it's unfair, and Geo insists Milk just doesn't like her. Cena reminds him that an adventure awaits him today and asks where he is heading. Geo hesitates, looking down at his plate of fish. From the dark, gloomy cave mouth, water drips ominously. A group of adventurers stands at the threshold of a huge underwater abyss. Sepha raises water elixirs. They are the key to mastering this new dungeon. She explains with a slight smile the downside of fighting underwater while holding your breath. Dark whirlpools of the depths of the untamed earth await them. Recalling the past victory, Sinner confidently drinks the new potion. 3 travelers wait in the dark, still water. They descend easily, as if walking on land. Annie exclaims with surprise, "I can really breathe underwater." She marvels excitedly at how easily she walks, and her clothes don't even get wet. The adventurers suddenly realize they can even clearly hear each other's voices. The hunter Annie's nose is still working, and she warns about the approaching monster. A huge creature, resembling a shark, lunges at them with frightening speed. The group sees with horror how the gigantic creature approaches. Cena instantly reacts and draws her shining sword with a sharp, piercing sound. She jumped forward and with one stroke cut the monster in half. The comrades enthusiastically praise her unwavering skill and Marlon's reliable potions. They correctly guess that Geo Supply supplies raw materials for the potions. Having no information about the area, Sifa decisively declares their mission is to map it. On a small, whimsical drawing, Annie's map is visible, and among the sketches, a drawing of the monster. The team settled on the rocks, resting and gathering strength before continuing the reconnaissance. They continue along a narrow, winding underwater path. The Senagas enter a majestic, shining grotto. Everyone would say that this could become a profitable tourist spot if not for this danger. Sepha reminds them to be careful. Monsters are definitely lurking nearby. The 3 of them walk through a coral forest that takes their breath away. Cena keeps wondering if the fish will be tasty, and for that receives a reproach from Annie. Somewhere far away, Dio suddenly sneezes, as if responding to her thought. Annie, full of optimism, says that capturing this area might be easy with these potions. A swarm of elegant creatures, resembling manta rays, glided past them. Suddenly, a giant shadow loomed over them and engulfed the grotto in darkness. The group looks up in horror at what Sepha considers the boss of this territory. That night near the house, Gio is gathered by a group of shadowy figures. Inside, Gio was sleeping soundly, quietly snoring. The uninvited guests notice that his sister is absent and see in this the perfect chance. Their leader barked, "Hurry up and grab that one ordinary person." A dull rumble as the door is kicked in shatters the silence. Milk's ear twitched, his eyes suddenly opened wide, and it became alert. The noise woke Gio. He blinked and suddenly woke up, frightened. Milk urgently pulls Gio by the leg, trying to drag him out of bed. Awakened, Giogrogli anxiously asks his favorite what is wrong with him while he is frying. Milk froze, his gaze fixed on the creaking bedroom door. Gio's heart was pounding wildly. He realized it could not have been his sister returning. Two threatening silhouettes loom in the doorway, and Gio whispers is gripped by horror. With fierce growling, Milk lunges forward to attack the invaders. One attacker screamed in pain, shocked that only a cat had attacked him. He struggled and shouted for the creature to release his hand. Gio screams for Milk caution. The second invader is sneaking up. Milk's eyes narrowed with fierce determination as it fought. The second attacker swung his fist, but Milk dodged with incredible speed. The first intruder was left with deep bleeding scratches on his face. Realizing their mistake, the two men decided to retreat for now. A loud, dull thud abruptly woke Gio from sleep in his dark room. Next to him, his large white companion Milk hissed, defending against an invisible threat. Gio anxiously asked if Milk was okay and if the noise had affected him. Milk emitted a series of anxious mews, insisting the danger had not yet passed. He understands that the creature insists he flee into the garden. It's safe there. With a determined nod, Gio agrees, and they escape into the courtyard bathed in moonlight. An armed assailant bursts into the yard with heavy steps and orders his men to find their target. Hiding among the plants, Gio's shooters realize that the armed men meant him harm. Milk Mew quietly cuddled close, staying nearby while Gio Whisper calmed his companion. He smiles and says to Milk, "Don't worry, I have a few strong friends." One of the men rustles in the bushes, creeping closer to their hiding place. A pumpkin-headed golem bursts from the ground with a powerful whoosh. It crashes into the invaders, who scream in shock and confusion. A second golem with a club rushes into the fight and attacks the stunned men. Around the uninvited guests, the earth begins to bulge more and more golems emerge from it. On the men's faces is pure terror as the golem army grows. Their leader, insanely enraged, demands to know why they cannot catch just one guy. Hidden Gio watches as the men fight his golems and marvels at this chaos. He looks around tensely and thinks, has someone new appeared to join this fight? A new figure rushes past with incredible blurred speed straight into the battle. The bald man delivers a devastating blow and easily cuts the golem apart. He looks back at his people and mocks their struggle with the small guys. The younger invaders watch, filled with fear and admiration. Another target emerges from beneath the ground, gathers courage, and is ready to throw himself into the fight. Gio recognizes the man. Horror grips him as he realizes that he has come for revenge. A subordinate with a trembling voice shouted to the leader, "Golems keep appearing endlessly." Another golem emerges from beneath the ground, clearly irritating the leader. The leader, with another powerful, furious blow, slices the new golem apart. He screams in despair for the constructs to part and let him pass. His sharp gaze cuts through the chaos and notices Gio and Milk hiding. The man glanced arrogantly and declared that the small guys Gio are powerless against him. The battlefield is chaos. People fight against an endless, furious wave. Angry that Gio is wasting his precious time, he prepares to launch an attack. Suddenly, a huge shadow fell over him and made him freeze in place. He raises his eyes and looks in complete shock and disbelief at the one who just arrived. The dark silhouette of a colossal golem looms threateningly over him. A small detail reveals the massive, heavily armored stone figure of the golems. Gaining courage, the leader rushes forward to attack the giant. His blade struck the leg of the galuma. Sharp metallic crack sounded. The force of the blow threw him back. He staggered, retreating, clenched in pain. He fell hard to the ground, his body hitting it with a dull thud. He began to laugh hysterically, as if trying to convince that it was just a joke. Below, two massive legs of the golem loom over the fallen warrior. The frame briefly shows Gio's house, the place where it all began. In the flashback, the leader mockingly ridicules the helplessness of his people. He cannot believe that they are fighting so hard. Geo shuddered, realizing how strong that man was and how weak his golems were. Milk growls and Geo agrees. They need to retreat even further. He dashed away in panic, not knowing what to do against such power. The leader stands amid the broken fragments of ordinary golems. A semi-transparent menu appeared before Geo, offering to create a Mega Guardian. Geo suddenly realizes that he has never tried this powerful, untested skill before. Knowing that there is no other way out, he decides to try. With anxiety in his heart, he asks himself if he can create not just one of them. He repeatedly confirms the system request, and one by one new guardians appear. With a final shout, he ordered the creation of another Mega Guardian. From beneath the earth, two colossal armored golems burst out with a roar. The leader froze with his mouth open, not believing his eyes, watching the impossible spectacle. His subordinates are equally stunned, their faces frozen in shock. Geo is thrilled with his own power. He has never created such huge golems. At night, huge silhouettes loom threateningly over the nearby roofs. The defeated leader sits on the ground and, in shock, laughs. Geo decisively orders one of his guards to drive him away. The shining eyes of the Mega Golem silently fixate on the target. It rushes downward at a crazy speed to carry out the order. Golem's huge hand grabs the shock leader with stunning force. He struggles in vain, flailing his arms and shouting for the golem to let him go. The golem's grip tightens, muffling his pleas for freedom. His protests turn into a ragged, painful scream as he is crushed. With a final brutal move, the golem hurls him into the air. He lands on a distant roof without emotion, defeated. The faces of the remaining villains turn pale, shadowed by pure horror. They shout for their fallen leader and begin to flee. The men rush away, shouting that there is no point fighting this house, it is too mad. Geo addresses his golem, "Is it safe now?" and the giant nods. Milk rubs against his leg, gently purring with relief. A gentle, relieved smile blossomed on Geo's face. He thanks his colossal guards and frankly admits he is in great trouble. The scene shifts to a huge, dark underwater cave, teeming with fish. A group of adventurers is heatedly discussing the colossal monster they just saw. Find out whether the question is if they have enough strength to defeat the beast. Cena cheerfully states that, in her opinion, the monster would be tasty. The squad leader sighed and said sadly how everything had been going so smoothly until now. She decisively decides to bypass the boss and continue mapping the area. While drinking the potion, she couldn't shake the thought the monster's presence was strangely weak. The travelers walk along the shore, continuing their search. The group trudged through the endless desert underwater landscape. The leader suggests it's time to return to the surface. The companion warned everyone cautiously, "Do not lower your guard on the way back." They agree, next time they will need a clear plan to defeat the boss. The team returns to begin their journey back to the surface. And suddenly, right behind them, a colossal shadow monster bursts out of the water. The leader panicked. He could not understand how it appeared out of nowhere. She shouts to the companions to run away from the terrible beast. The group rushes away in a desperate attempt to escape the monster. The monster's huge, shadowy eye twitches as it lunges in pursuit. It chases after them, running faster and faster, closing the distance. The beast opens its unimaginably huge jaws, preparing to swallow them whole. The leader shouts into the void that they are about to be devoured. Sepha suddenly freezes. Her face is calm, her gaze fixed on the beast. Sepha looks with a serious expression, thinking that this new enemy does not resemble a volcano. She raises her hand and her mighty ability, Empress's power, bursts forth. The colossal fish shuddered as she considered whether her abilities would be enough against the giants. Annie urgently points, calling her comrades to look at the monster's reaction. From the shadowy figure of the creature came a strange sound, as if something was dissolving. A close-up shows the character's eye opening wide. Surprise at this strange event is readable in it. The monster's body continues to disintegrate, confusing the viewer. The red-haired adventurer shouts, not believing his eyes, as the creature's body crumbles. Sifa looks with a knowing gaze, as if confirming that she had suspected the truth before. The illusion shatters, revealing that the enemy is not a single giant fish. It forms, then breaks apart into many smaller figures swirling in the water. The truth is revealed. It is a huge, tightly packed school of small fish. Annie and Sinisterin froze with wide-open eyes, shock from what their enemy truly turned out to be. Now Annie finally understood why her senses could not detect any powerful presence. The hand tightly grips the sword hilt, preparing for the start of a real battle. Three travelers draw their weapons, and one says it was all just a deceptive performance. CFA warns them not to relax. She suspects that a leading fish is behind the school. Annie firmly plants her foot on the ground, agreeing with the new plan. Cena declared that she would finish them all with one decisive blow. Sifa says she will help, ordering the fish to bow. Her power covered the school and weakened all the weaklings. The magical attack threw the small fish into chaos. Under the influence of this skill, their movements become slow and clumsy. She bursts into the school and slashes them with a series of quick cuts. Anyone notices that the power of the Emperor's works, and their enemies become easy prey. Suddenly, the school of fish began to weave into a coordinated pattern. One larger fish with a piercing eye leads the others. Sifa's expression hardens as she sees the enemy's coordinated counterattack. The entire school, like a powerful single wave, rushed to the party. Cena and Annie scream in pain as a barrage of blows falls upon them. Sifa grits her teeth but cannot hold her gift under the blows. The squad instantly plunged into chaos as the wave of fish swept past them. Cena shouts a warning with all her might as the school prepares for another attack. Sifo tries again to use his ability amid the chaos, but in vain. The travelers held their breath as the roaring wave of fish surged right at them. Physical attacks do not stop, and the squad finds itself in real danger. Annie screams in pain because the fish keeps hitting her. Cena's face twisted from the constant blows. Sepha's eye squints tensely and notices the real target amid the chaos. She recognizes a 1-liter fish that commands the entire attack. Cena bursts through the water, sword raised for the decisive strike. The lead fish was cut in half. It let out a silent death scream. All the others in the school immediately panicked and scattered in all directions. The water churns, and the traveler stands among the defeated and fleeing fish. Someone asks if they are finally safe, noticing how the fish suddenly darted away. Scenic explains when she killed that one fish, the others scattered. Sifa looks and immediately understands what Sane's act means. The halved carcass of the leader fish twitched, confirming that it was the one controlling the rest. Cena cheerfully explains that she just glanced at it and instinctively cut it. Comrades are delighted with her, saying she is amazing and her skill is insane. The group wondered if this cunning creature was the boss of this area. Although victorious, Annie complains that her whole body aches after the fight. In a beautiful grotto, the team decides to take news of their victory to the guild. They emerge through the water, leaving behind the conquered underwater territory. In the guild house, a lively receptionist scoundrel welcomes Sifa right on time. 3 travelers approach the counter tired but victorious. The scoundrel is boiling with excitement, and Annie guesses she has news about the volcanic zone. The scoundrel finally admits, because of her achievement, a person very dear to her suffered, and she wants to meet her. Sepha raised her hand to get the scoundrel's attention and report herself. She calmly tells the receptionist that they also captured the underwater zone. The joyful expression on Canelia's face freezes as she realizes the incredible news. She screamed in shock, and the news spread throughout the guild hall. Confused, Canali exclaimed how insanely cool they are for achieving so much. She tells them that now they will probably be greeted even warmer. Pulling herself together, she prepares to finally reveal who their secret admirer is. With a forced smile, she announces, "It is Lord Arsel," and he simply explodes with shock as soon as the Lord's name is spoken. All 3 adventurers froze, stunned by the incredible summons. Canelia joyfully confirms she was invited to the Lord's magnificent castle. Whoever says otherwise to ordinary people, the Lord seems like a completely unattainable figure. Canelli explains that their conquest caused a real economic boom in the region. She notes this is the first time the Lord has addressed such young travelers. The close-up shows a small detail on the sheet in her hands, which looks official. Sepha suddenly realized the apothecary who prepared the ice gold elixir was also involved. Canelia confirms that they also contacted the apothecary Marlin. They were worried about her social anxiety. Cena begins to ask about her brother, who grew these ingredients. Annie quickly flew over and covered her mouth with her hand. She whispers hurriedly, Gio's garden a secret. CIFA confirmed in 5 days they have a meeting at the castle. Cena and Annie are happy about the news they will finally get a break. The adventure says goodbye, promising to see Canelia in 5 days. Cena joyfully jumps through the city, planning for Geosporal to help her. The scene shifts to the quiet 2-story house of Gio and Cena. Inside the large white creature, Milk restlessly moves around the dining table. Gio thoughtfully notes that since that incident, Milk has been constantly on guard. Shadowy figures emerge in the memory, rushing through their garden in the middle of the night. Gio shuttered the windows, anxiety rising. He feared the attackers might return. He nervously shifts from foot to foot, worried. Cena is late and might be in danger. He asked Milk what they should do, anxiety overwhelming him. The front door creaked and both Gio and Milk flinched. Milk rushed to the door, ready to defend, when Gio shouted his name. Gio's face is tense. He anxiously watches to see if the attackers have returned. Suddenly it turns out the stranger is Cena, who was playfully bitten by Milk. Relief instantly floods Gio's face when he sees that his sister is safe. He rushed to meet her, sighing with relief that she is okay, but couldn't help noticing her lateness. He squeezes Milk from her and whispers to the creature that Cena is not an enemy. Milk looks shocked, as if confused by this order. Cena looks puzzled, not understanding why he even needs to clarify this. Gio confirms something did happen. Later, during dinner, 2 bowls of steaming food were on the table. Cena slaps the table with her palms, shocked by the news that her brother was attacked. Gio reassures her was unharmed. He thanked the Milk and the golems for this. The news about his mysterious protectors left Cena completely stunned. She just froze and was silent. In the memory, a shadow golem appears, standing guard over their fallen attackers. Gio sighs, admits that he sleeps poorly because he knows those men might return. Her expression becomes cold, serious, and determined as she considers the threat. Feeling the full weight of the situation, she asked, "Who are these attackers?" He describes the leader as a skilled swordsman, covered in tattoos, who dealt with the ordinary golems. The next morning, an anxious Gio insists, "Cena, be careful and barricade her door." Smiling confidently, she crunches her food and tells him, "Don't worry." She nods, smiles, and assures him that she can stand up for herself, brushing off his fears that she is supposedly a novice. Her overly relaxed manner makes Gio nervously swallow. She seems too casual to him. At night, Gio, defending himself, persistently explained to the invisible person that he was invited to the masters. The roofs of his town stretched under a clear, quiet sky. Under his foot, the path crunches as he walks through his well-tended garden. Along with Milk and Gallium, he carries a basket of fresh produce. A handful of shimmering magical stones chime as they are gathered together. Looking at his home, he decided to collect stones and strengthen the garden's defense with them. Remembering Cena's confidence, he resolutely decides that she won't have to strain too much. He believes that during the day, his powerful mega-golems are hard to deploy. Zone in thoughts, he asks himself if there is another way to protect his home. The magical stones dissolved in the light, their power was exhausted, and he was left with the desire to find another way out. He imagines an invisible wall and suddenly realizes that he has acquired a new ability. Suddenly, a memory of a skill he learned some time ago but has not yet tested flashed in his mind. The system interface beeped as he opened his list of unique abilities. The name of the skill, which spread among the gardens, is announced with fanfare. His eyes lit up with excitement at the thought that he could teleport away from danger. He eagerly accepts the call to travel between his 2 gardens. His hopes are immediately shattered because the system says he cannot travel right now. Confused and disappointed, he wonders why the skill failed, then moves on. He excitedly opens another new skill he has mastered, Traveling Garden. A prompt appeared, switch to travel mode, and he reluctantly agreed. The ground beneath his feet suddenly and unexpectedly jerks us. A strong earthquake threw him, the Milk, and the golem off balance. They froze in shock. Clutching the bottle of milk in his hands, he asked what had just happened while the trembling gradually subsided. He raises his eyes to the familiar roofs of his quiet neighborhood. Something strange caught his eye from the side. He froze. Confusion is written on his face. He is straining to understand what is wrong here. He suddenly shuddered. The neighboring house seemed to have shrunk. With an exclamation of disbelief, he rushes to the edge of his plot to figure it out. He slammed on the brakes sharply and froze, staring at the huge chasm where his garden once was. His eyes twitch in comical horror at the impossible sight before him. A system message appears on the screen. Does he want to move the garden? His house and garden was hovering in the air, frightening the neighbor nearby. He marvels at how insane his ability is, while the house quietly settles. He understands that this power is too conspicuous to use for a quiet escape. But for us exchanged through his problematic skills, he instead decides to check his new crops. A spark of hope flares in his heart. He wonders if he can grow something incredible. A bright menu of new cultivation options emerges with a spectacular flourish. He falls into complete despair when he realizes that his new options are only flowers. He sighs and regrets that none of them will be useful. His golem and Milk watch anxiously as he expresses his disappointment. Milk gently licks his face, trying to get his attention. The creature softly nudged him with its nose, quietly purring as if trying to comfort him. His golem softly steps back, and he realizes they are trying to cheer him up. A small, grateful smile appears on his face. He is touched by their simple kindness. He sincerely thanks his loyal comrades for their unwavering support. His fighting spirit has flared up again, and he resolutely said that if trouble comes, they will all act together. He stands proudly beside his comrades. Determination has returned. His posture radiates confidence. He breaks out in a nervous sweat. He admits to himself that he is still a little afraid. He clenches his fist, reminding himself that Cena is here to protect. He firmly says that he cannot afford to be afraid. He must protect his sister. He walks back to his home, surrounded by the lush plants of his garden. His feet shuffle along the path as he approaches the building. Suddenly he remembers, it is time Cena must wake up. Climbing the stairs to her room, he calls her by name. He sees that her door is open, although he had warned her earlier. Pushing the door, he enters her tidy but empty room. Anxiety appears on his face as he realizes she is not there. The scene shifts to a dark, neglected alley somewhere in the city. The attacker with the ball drags himself forward, gasping from effort and rage. In a fit of irritation, he punches the wall with all his might. His face contorts into a disgusting snarl. He swears that Gio will pay for this. A memory shows how his superiors cruelly humiliate him for the failure. He recalls how he was demoted, betrayed, and expelled. Now his life is in danger. The Gio house is stuck in his mind, and he blames that boy for all his downfall. Now he lurks in the shadows, watching the mansion closely. The front door opens and Cena steps outside. He hesitates whether to wait for the boy to appear, but suddenly notices a new opportunity. He watches as a young woman walks away, and a sinister plan forms in his mind. He remembered he heard that the boy lived alone with his sister, who loved adventures. When he realized he had the advantage, a cunning, predatory smile spread across his face. He notices that the girl who just became an adult is a perfect target. He decisively decides to use her as bait to lure Gio into the open space. He follows Cena from afar, like a shadow, as she walks through the city streets. Seeing her turn into a deserted alley, he knows his moment has come. His feet stomp on the sidewalk, and he quickly closes the distance. He silently appears behind her and instantly catches her attention with one word. Leaning very close, he whispered a cold threat, ordering her to be silent. Cena froze by his description. She recognized the man who attacked her brother. Her face darkened, and she quietly but threateningly asked, "Is he the one who attacked her brother?" The direct question sent a tremor of fear through him. He is confused by her strange, frighteningly calm confidence in herself. Convinced that she has the upper hand, Cena declares that from now on he will obey her every command. With a sweet smile, she cheerfully chirps that she does not want to follow him. Her calm audacity drives the man into rage. His patience has completely run out. He draws his massive sword and demands that she understand the danger she is in. With an icy smile, she sharply replies that he is the one who needs to realize his place. A loud clang sounded as his huge sword was knocked from his hands. He stares into the void, his mind struggling to comprehend what just happened. In the dark alley, the bald man's eye is wide open in shock, as if asking what just happened. His heart pounds wildly in his chest from the sudden invisible attack. Grabbing his bleeding wound, he screams in pain, unable to understand what hit him. Cena calmly walks away, leaving the stunned man on the cobblestones. She resolutely declares, to scare the brother to such an extent is an unforgivable act. Her face becomes icy as she explains that his presence does not let them sleep soundly. The man shuddered, a wave of pure horror washed over his face. The sword clattered uselessly on the ground, and he cursed his damned fate. Trembling, he jumps back on his hands and begs her to wait a moment. They saw his hand resting on the heel of her sword, ready to draw it again. Leaning over him, she begins to pronounce her final grim verdict. He realizes with horror that he seriously erred by getting involved with these brothers and sisters. Dark, tense alley parts and a peaceful town appears before the eyes. The morning sun generously floods the quiet roofs of the town with light. Sister Geospot calls her by name, and anxiety is visible on her face. He rushes to her, demanding to know where she has been. While he fussed over her safety, she calmly said that she met a bald man. With a bright smile, she reassures him that man promised never to bother him again. Gio was left completely bewildered by this impossible turn of events. He asked distrustfully if she was really not in any danger at all. A wave of deep relief washes over him. He is glad that she is safe. A seed of doubt has sprouted in his mind. What really happened? He cannot help but wonder, did that man simply decide to give up? Or does he imagine that he might be perceived as truly absurdly strong? Brushing off the thought, he listens as she indifferently says she is going to sleep. Gio looks at his sister, his face thoughtful and worried. He reaches out and gently pats her on the head. He considers her sincere, but says she does not need to push herself so hard. Cena shines proudly and firmly declares that she will always protect him, no matter what happens. With a warm smile on his face, he admits that he himself does not know what to feel. She jokingly says that everything is fine, he is both kind and weak. He can only emit a groan of pain as they walk home together. The next morning, under a bright sky, the scene changes. Cena is sound asleep in her bed and snores loudly. Her brother Gio slammed the door and shouted for her to wake up. A large white creature named Milk sat on her, and she complains about its weight. Still half asleep, she pretends to be on a break from adventures. A sudden strike of realization pierces her. She remembers an important meeting. In a luxurious mansion, a flawless butler welcomes a group of young ladies. It is visible on the faces of her friends. They look with admiring and curious expressions. They are delighted by the huge, luxurious corridors of the castle. Luxurious floral arrangements only enhance the stunning sense of grandeur. Adventurers whisper among themselves, trembling with excitement before meeting the lord. The blonde adventurer Sifa has something she really wants to talk about, but their companion Marlin sways unsteadily and looks unwell. Crushed by sadness, she mumbles that she wants to go home. The friends insist that the lord acknowledged her contribution, but she wants Dennis. She sobs that Dennis makes his contribution every day, just constantly renewing her. The butler announced that they have arrived, and everyone is already in place. A silhouetted figure turns away from the window and thanks them for coming. The woman turned with a graceful gesture and appeared before the girls. She introduces herself with royal grace, Lord Elizabeth Arsel. The title displays her name, and immediately it is clear she holds a high position. The travelers immediately froze at her stunning beauty. One of them gently scolds Cena for her rough outburst of emotions. Sifa feels familiarity and asks if they have met before. A quiet, knowing chuckle escaped from Lord Elizabeth's lips. She confirms with a smile that they met just a few days ago. Then the Lord greets that wonderful apothecary about whom she has heard so much. Sifa's and her friends' eyes widen as realization begins to dawn on them. Elizabeth finally confirms their suspicion. She is also a traveler, Eliza. The girls simply went into a stupor upon learning that the Lord is a B-rank adventurer. Settling on the throne, she smilingly explains that she goes on adventures to stay in shape. Her butler notes with surprise, the Viscountess is going on adventures. Such a thing has never been heard of before. The girls suddenly realize that her companions are knights from the castle. Sifa anxiously asked if that was how she became rank B, but the Lord says no. She recalls how, in her teenage years, she ran away from home to travel the world in search of adventures. Her story suddenly becomes sad. She remembers how her older brother died 5 years ago. She explains that she had no choice. She had to return home and lead the lordship. The travelers froze. Her personal, dramatic story stunned them. She apologizes for the long story, and strong emotions are visible on her face. Elizabeth reveals the real reason for the summons. She came to thank them for their contribution. The 4 young women look genuinely flattered by the Lord's praise. She adds that their conquest of the underwater territory was truly impressive. Clapping her hands, she calls them to tell their saga over dinner. The Lord smiles warmly, ready to share the meal with her guests. A luxurious banquet was laid out on the table. Everything shines with wealth. Cena almost drools at the sight, for which she gets a light scolding. Lord Elizabeth encourages everyone, help yourselves and eat to your heart's content. Cena admires a thick, juicy piece of meat with delight. She takes the first bite, closing her eyes in anticipation. Her eyes suddenly open wide and shine with pure culinary bliss. She smacks her lips with unrestrained joy and exclaims how delicious it is. The meat is so juicy, it seems to melt in her mouth. Sifu lifts her spoon, preparing to taste the soup that tempts with aroma and looks incredibly tasty. She takes a gentle sip from her spoon. Her face softens with admiration, and she quietly whispers how delicious it is. Someone has a remark about the overpriced fish dish, while Marlene writhes in embarrassment. While Annie is eating, a pensive expression passes over her face. Sefa also feels the ingredients are incredibly fresh and insanely rich in flavor. Both feel that the taste reminds them of something familiar. The 3 travelers silently shared the same slow realization. Lord Elizabeth anxiously asks if something is wrong with the food. All praise belongs to the incredible quality of the ingredients themselves. Winking, the Lord slyly said that she buys them from the doll seller. Annie immediately associates the secret source with her brother Gio. A wave of shock swept through the adventurers as they all realized the truth. Sifa barely restrains her surprise. Her brother's harvest is already on the Lord's table. She repeated to herself what she already knew and dreamed that Gio was nearby to praise her. She then glances at Marlene, who gloomily mutters that she misses Dennis. In the magnificent sparkling dining hall, a lavish banquet ended amid adventures. Lord Elizabeth, their host, addressed her guests and asked if they had already watched their film. The travelers, filled with satisfaction, sincerely thanked the Lord for such delicious food. With a warm smile, she says that she wants to reward them. Sifa looks excitedly, not believing the generous offer of a reward from the Lord. The Lord tells them that they can ask for anything they desire. She sets a condition: their request must remain within the realm of possibility. The girls consult on what they want, and Marlon makes a funny, absurd suggestion. The butler suddenly interrupts everything and announces the arrival of Miss Leru, Caleria. He explains that the merchant seems to already know her current guess. Cena recognizes this name and says she saw that merchant near her house. Understanding how everything is connected, Lord Elizabeth orders the butler to let the merchant in. Sephora observes the exchange, her face thoughtful and serious. A plan is maturing in her mind. Barely has the butler managed to leave, Sephora stands up and asks for the floor. She suddenly bows deeply before the surprised and inquisitive Lord. Lord Elizabeth steps back and asks what is the reason for this sudden formality. Siva, filled with gratitude, with tears in her eyes, says that the Lord saved her father, Smithy. She explains in detail that the master, through Caleria, ensured that weapons appeared for Mitra. A joyful expression blooms on Elizabeth's face. She suddenly understands everything. She says that she simply agreed to that purchase, but was satisfied. The master cannot contain his excitement, telling how she was ecstatic when she got such wonderful weapons almost for free. Curiosity was off the charts, and she asked Sifa how they obtained such a large amount of mithril. At that moment, Leroka briskly runs into the room and waves to everyone with a smile. Lord Elizabeth solemnly greets the merchant by her full name, Lura Caleria. She explains to Laruka that she just found out the weapons were made by the Sifu family. Elizabeth points out the inconsistency and asks, did Laruka provide the mithril, for which no one paid? Laruka slyly laughed and told them not to worry about such trifles. The other adventurers stared blankly on their faces, a mixture of suspicion and surprise. Their empty gazes did not subside as they tried to comprehend the deep mystery of the merchant. Laruka's expression becomes cunning as she hints at a well-hidden secret. She winks and puts a finger to her lips, asking them to be silent. The shared thought about geo-growing mithril flashed through their heads like lightning. Lord Elizabeth waved off the mystery and asked Laruka why she came to the castle. Laruka explains that she heard the girls were invited as guests today. The Lord asks if the girls have already decided on their reward, and they have not yet. Laruka loudly says that she came just in time. She has an idea for them. She gathers the girls into a tight circle and begins to whisper her plan. Lord Elizabeth watches intently from her throne, guessing what Laruka is plotting. Marlon feels aside from that secret conversation. She so wants to go home. Cena's eyes shone with delight when she exclaimed that Laruka's idea was wonderful. Annie and Sepha also expressed their approval of the whispered plan. United, the four girls stood before the Lord to announce their decision. The ruler listens, face stern, as they begin to voice their request. The scene abruptly cuts off. Tension thickens. Their request has not yet fully unfolded. Somewhere far away, the sizzling of fried food is heard, filling the modest, quiet home. The Geotels have a large wolf-like pet named Milk. It's time for their dinner. He thinks that his friends are probably enjoying a lavish banquet in the castle. He bites into his simple fried dish with a loud smack. Despite the simplicity, he sincerely says that his food is incredibly tasty. His thoughts returned again to his friends. He still couldn't believe they were invited. He feels how CFA slowly recedes into a world he can no longer reach. He writes off the scene and the invitation as simple luck and feels they are distant from him. After eating, he decides to go out and work in his little garden. He carries a basket of groceries, calculating in his head how to deliver them to Lucas and Laruka. He thoughtfully considers how to grow even more herbs, but sighs there is currently no space. He walks through a lush, peaceful garden with Milk and a faithful golem. Suddenly, Cena's cheerful voice sounded. She returned from a visit to the castle. Gio heard with surprise how the voices of Laruka and Annie were singing along with his sister. Panic grips him. He remembers that all this time he was hiding the milk from everyone. He instantly orders the large, fluffy flying creature to hide in the garden. A group of girls is walking along the path to his house. Their footsteps are thudding. Sifo apologizes for coming without an invitation. Her face has a gentle and kind expression. Gio's face lit up with pure, genuine joy at the sight of Sifa. He cast a sharp glance at them and asked, "Why are you still not in the castle, as I expected?" The girls smile, preparing to explain why they came so unexpectedly. He was quite confused to learn that the Lord had given them a plot of land. Inside, they explained that it was just a patch of uninhabited, unwanted land. Cena joyfully announces that he will give him the land. Gio is completely bewildered by this unexpected turn of events and the news. He jumped in shock. They want to give him their reward. Lyrica proudly claimed the idea and said that all the others gladly agreed. When he asked why, Annie decisively replied that they needed nothing more. Sifa and Annie explain this is how they thank him for the help. They recalled how he saved both Sifa's father's shop and Annie's sister's restaurant. Embarrassed, Gio tries hard to downplay his role, insisting that they did all the hard work. Annie grabs him, preparing to express her opinion even more decisively and directly. She sincerely explains his achievements in garden, which Kempi made widely known. La Rocca adds that this is a true sign of everyone's attention to him. Cena tells him that although his garden is a secret, he is incredible. She gently calls him an incredible older brother, and he is left speechless. Gio looks at his friends, touched by their shared kindness and gratitude. A joyful smile lit up his face, and he sincerely thanks everyone. He tells them that nothing would make him happier than to accept their incredible gift. Sefa asks if he will be able to make this new land useful. Gio watches as his garden grows wider and convinces himself the land is truly fertile. Suddenly, his favorite milk appears with a quiet pop, tail wagging. A huge white creature sits at the table as if it is its place. Gio panics, realized that he himself clearly ordered his favorite to go and hide. Laruka's eyes widen in horror. She recognizes it is a snow leopard. Sifa and Annie instantly rushed into defensive stances, ready to fight. Gio hands desperately begged to wait and showed that it was his pet. The girl froze. She could not believe it when he said that the dangerous monster was a domestic pet. To prove his point, he suddenly throws his arms around the large, fluffy creature. As if the fierce monster gently presses against him, purring loudly. The girl froze in her gaze, completely stunned that the creature was so attached to him. Cena noticed that it seemed to her that the milk was a bit too much for a cat. Other girls demand to know what is happening and where he got it from. Realizing that his secret has been exposed, Gio prepares to tell them the whole truth. He confesses his home gardening skill allows him to grow monster eggs. Later, Annie anxiously says that mass-producing monsters with such an ability is dangerous. Safix firmly believes that Gio will never use his incredible power for evil. Her heart was pounding loudly as she sternly warned him to be more careful with his secret. Cheerful Laruka points to the city gates and announces their new beginning. She explains that the deserted land is teeming with monsters, which makes another girl nervous. She notices that they will have to walk a bit to the large square. Saint Ansef walks nearby, joyfully praising the Lord for the unoccupied land. The whole group climbs the grassy hill to the land their friends have acquired. Gio looks ahead with an admiring smile, eagerly awaiting what this land will be like. After their journey, Laruka, wiping sweat from her forehead, announced their arrival. The landscape turns out to be a dark, distorted, and completely abandoned swamp. Siva and Santa froze with wide-open eyes, shock and disbelief at the sight of Grimm. The chapter titled The Second Garden appears just as the Lord recalls their request for land. In a flashback, the Lord thoughtfully considers his vague demands for the estate. The group admits back then they agreed to the terms, although everything turned out differently. Standing on the edge, Gio does not believe he got the swamp. In the dark, murky water, monsters with sinister smiles lurk. His companions agree this is definitely not a place to grow any crops. La Rauca glances at the land, notices that it meets their requirements, and asks Gio, "What do you think?" He swallows nervously and asks himself if anything can be grown here at all. Suddenly, a holographic window lights up in the air. It asks if he wants to allocate this place for a garden. And the unearthly light begins to flicker and spread over the murky swamp water. A bright grid of light flashed, transforming the entire landscape with a powerful glow. The dark water and twisted trees instantly disappeared under a quiet sound. He turns to his stunned friends and confidently says that the land will be fine. The system reports, new garden successfully assigned. His companions could only stare, completely baffled by this sudden and miraculous change. With a shining smile, Geo exclaims that the newly created garden is perfect. He thought that the first pioneers would be insanely angry about his such easy success. A huge garden with perfectly even rows spread out before him, much larger than he expected. A message flashed in the status window. The space of his garden has increased more than 200 times. He honestly admits that he truly has no idea how he could use all the space. The land is secured and he begins to think about what to plant first. He thoughtfully recalls he obtained this garden thanks to the hard work of his friend. Suddenly an idea struck him. His eyes lit up with a spark of inspiration. The friends look confused while he keeps repeating his new plan to himself. He keeps nodding, excitement grows, and he confidently repeats, yes. His companions quietly whisper among themselves, not understanding at all what he is talking about. Sepha notices how the exiled swamp monsters stealthily crawl to the edge of the untouched garden. Cena instantly rushes to protect Geo, guessing that those creatures are angry because they lost their homes. Geo remains completely calm, waves his hand and tells them not to worry. He calls upon his skill, Mega Guardian Creation, and a golem bursts out of the ground. His friends screamed in shock as the monsters trembled with pure terror. He calmly decides to make a few more. The garden is indeed huge. 2 mega guards effortlessly destroy the frightened monsters for them. His comrades simply froze stunned and speechless from this demonstration of power. The danger turned away, and Geo is already planning his next move for the sake of garden. He creates a huge protective wall, rising like a rampart around the new sprawling estate. Then he activates the skill, and the entire area hides from foreign eyes. He notices how he moves between the garden skill, and suddenly a brilliant idea flashes in his mind. He waved his hand cheerfully, said he would return in a moment, and instantly teleported. The girls froze in silent astonishment. They are completely stunned by his disappearance. Is someone blushing with irritation, muttering about the absurdity of this situation? Sepha calms her down, saying it is useless to think too much about it. Geo appeared again in a flash of light, finding himself in his familiar small garden near the house. He triumphantly confirms that he really can travel between his 2 gardens. He decided to bring food. His large wolf-like friend Milk appeared nearby. He asked the inquisitive Milk if it would like to go with him. Having received Milk's consent, he prepares to teleport them both back to Novi Sad. He places his hand on Milk's back and activates his travel skill once again. They suddenly appeared in Novi Sad. His friends stood stunned and could not believe their eyes. Milk lets out an excited meow, his eyes sparkling as he looks at this huge new space. The Geotel's favorite can run freely here, noticing how much he has grown recently. Friends rush to him one after another, demanding an explanation of what he just did. He casually explains that he can instantly jump between different gardens. The golem signals all monsters have been successfully exterminated. Geo placed 2 huge trays overflowing with fresh meat and various vegetables. He suggested having a festive barbecue, and his surprised friends were delighted. A huge skewer of meat sizzles on the grill, and they are already eagerly preparing to pounce. Friends enjoy barbecue under the wide open sky, savoring every tasty piece. All together quietly giggled, enjoying the peaceful festive meal. The red-haired girl pointed in surprise and exclaimed to the others, "Look over there." The garden buzzes with new life as something begins to bloom across the field. Tightly closed buds slowly open, whispering with a soft, gentle sound. A beautiful flower, like a daisy, unfolds its petals as if the very creation appears in an instant. The girl freezes in awe before the suddenly arisen field of flowers. Geosmiles smiled warmly and explained that this was his way of thanking them for their help. His friends are touched by his caring and beautiful gesture of gratitude. Sifa blushed a little and thanked him for the breathtaking, beautiful view. Milk bursts onto the scene, loudly meowing, and scares the blushing Geo. A small empty panel serves as a transition between scenes. Geo decided, so that no one would get confused, to name the first and second garden on his plot. He held his breath, imagining how he would hand Laruka the flowers, even before going to work. He stands before a huge mountain of fallen monsters, pondering his next move. Laruka notices that the swamp monsters only give small, worthless materials. He wonders why not order the golems to simply throw away the monsters' bodies. Suddenly, a system prompt exploded on the screen. Does he want to absorb the monsters? Confused but curious, he decides to try the mysterious absorption function. The monsters' bodies instantly dissolved in a flash of light. He froze in shock. His garden levels up just as when he uses magical stones. He suddenly realizes his garden seems to be absorbing the magical stones that are inside the monsters. A thoughtful look flashed across his face as he finally connected all the facts and understood everything. He understood that defeating monsters is now a new way to level up his garden. Fragrant smoke slowly rises from several cones laid on the ground. Geo waved away the thick smoke, thinking that he had probably overdone it. He proudly shows the scents from Marlin's pharmacy, which attract monsters. He worries for a moment about Marlin since they were in the castle. She looks unwell. Having prepared, he pushes aside part of his protective wall. The tempting incense smoke slowly spread across the surrounding wilderness. In the tall grass, the ear of a large bear-like monster twitched at the smell. The bear dashed through the breach, while Geo ordered his golem to attack. The golem in heavy armor strikes the bear monster with incredible force with his fist. The fallen beast collapses to the ground, completely unconscious. The system asks Geo, does he want to absorb the monsters? With a gentle wish, the monster's body dissolves in the light. And suddenly, a notification pops up on the screen. His garden has leveled up. Geo smiles, beamed with delight. His new method succeeded. Another level-up notification flashed with a festive sparkle. Standing next to his golem, Geo excitedly talks about his newly devised grand plan. First, he lights a special incense to lure monsters directly to him. Then he gives the command his mighty stone golem must kill them all. Finally, his home garden absorbs their bodies to gain experience. He smiles as he describes his perfect, repeatable, and automatic leveling system. Geo thought now he can level up his garden without Cena's help. Filled with excitement, he asks himself how many more monsters will appear. The scene shifts to a vast, peaceful mountain expanse covered with dense forest. A few days later, his huge garden complex is shown, divided into strict squares. The perspective recedes many kilometers to the west of the city of Arsel. A sharp, energetic gust rushed through the dark, dense thickets. Here it is, the ominously famous, deadly, dangerous forest of death, inhabited by monsters. At the edge of the forest, a group of adventurers set up camp. The younger adventurer suggests exploring deeper, but his companion advises caution. The veteran warns, the further you go, the denser the managros become. Suddenly, loud rumbles rose from the very heart of the forest. A chaotic scene, monsters panic-strickenly rush through the thickets. A dark beast resembling a cat screeches piercingly, breaking through the trees. A desperate escape of countless creatures continues through the forest. Another group of adventurers feels strange tremors through the ground. A woman with fox ears caught a sound coming from the forest. She suddenly realizes that hum is not from the earth but from something else. With growing horror, she understands it is the sound of running. A huge surge of monsters burst out from under the trees, a wild, chaotic wave. Having escaped, they froze in amazement. What an incredible number of beasts. The leader, realizing the danger, ordered the rider to rush and warn everyone. He notices that the crowd is rushing straight east along its current trajectory. He screams in horror, realizing that the city of Arsene is threatened by mortal danger. In her office, Lord Elizabeth sighs wearily over a pile of papers. She dreams of exploring dungeons, not fussing over contracts. Suddenly, her assistant appears with another mountain of documents. Then the assistant prepares to hand her a new, separate report. He begins to tell about a strange and mysterious swamp mass. With a loud rumble, he shows that the entire area is now an empty wasteland. In his report, all life has disappeared, and an invisible wall has appeared. Lord assumes that someone there has constructed some kind of ultramodern barrier. She quietly reflects on why she gave the girls that land as a trial. Her eye narrowed, she decisively decides to defend her territory if they are dangerous. Her handmaiden felt a chill from the sudden, unwavering determination. But she trusts Siffy and her friends and believes they will not harm anyone. She decides for now to simply observe the territory. With a heavy heart, she prepares to once again take up the tedious signing of documents. The guard suddenly slammed the door and ran in, shouting about bad news. He shouts in panic that a huge horde of monsters is approaching them. The stampede bursts through the landscape, rushing straight toward the city. Meanwhile, Geo calmly tends to his huge new garden complex. He stands before his system, having just absorbed the local monsters. He wonders if he has now killed every monster in this area. A joyful message announced that his garden reached level 31. He puzzles over the infinity sign that now lies within his garden. He masters a new skill, the evolution of his protective wall generator. He wonders, does this mean he can now create even bigger walls? The prompt asks if he wants to generate a new castle wall. He agreed, and a powerful flash of light erupted in the garden. With a loud rumble, a huge, formidable castle wall rises from the ground. He cannot believe it, these walls might even be better than Arsel. A barely noticeable, thoughtful smile appears on his face as he surveys his creation. Thinking that the wall was useless, he immediately makes it disappear. He walks together with his companion Milk, planning the next harvest. He froze, hearing a barely audible noise from the distant city. On the city streets, people are shouting and running to find shelter. Stepping outside, Gio was confused by the sudden chaos throughout the city. The guard tells him that a crowd in panic is rushing towards the city. The guard explains the serious danger the entire city is in. Gio suddenly realizes the matter is much more serious than he had imagined. Suddenly he remembers Cena and friends have just set off on an adventure. He tells his partner Milk that he won't be able to take him to the shelter. He calmly reassures Milk, saying they can teleport to safety if necessary. Suddenly he recalled, the guard said that the stampede is at the western gates. He decides to send a mega golem to scout what is happening there. Shirk and he easily climbs onto the golem's shoulder. He peeks out from the city wall, straining to look into the chaos, searching for its source. He froze in horror, so many monsters are rushing towards the city. On the wall, soldiers report what is stamped in plain sight. Lord Elizabeth gathers her troops and vows to defend the city. She grits her teeth, irritated by the lack of adventure. A soldier says that not everyone is losing faith in their chances. He confirmed 200 soldiers are already dressed in new mithril armor. The soldiers draw their shining swords, hearts filled with uplift and readiness. The commander decisively orders them to line up for a concentrated assault. He firmly declared that they must hold the line against the horde, no matter what. From the front row of terrifying monsters erupted a fierce, collective roar. The first battle between soldiers and monsters exploded with a huge blast. The warriors shouted as the brutal fight truly began. At the battlement, Lord Elizabeth tenses as the wall itself shakes. Her face tightened with deep anxiety for the soldiers below. The soldier delivers a powerful, arcing strike to a huge beast. He cannot get enough of the incredible sharpness of his new mithril sword. Another monster, a fierce, wolf-like beast, growls viciously. The soldier groans in pain as he is struck by a powerful blow. A comrade rushed to him and asked if he was all right. The soldier confirms he is here. His shield smokes from the impact. He says that both the shield and armor held firm. The commander, touching the shine of the new mithril equipment, proudly praises its strength and immediately orders the mages, fire. The battlefield explodes as the squad of mages unleashes a barrage of fireballs. A huge bear-like monster crashes to the ground with a roar, defeated by a powerful magical attack. The soldiers look at the field strewn with fallen monsters, and a spark of hope ignites in them. The commander grimly admits, although they succeeded, escaping without injuries will not be possible. He turns to his subordinate and asks if the healing potions are ready for the wounded. The subordinate set out a huge box of potions and explained that the Lord had stocked them in case of trouble. A new terrible wave of fierce monsters approaches and roars, among them bears and bulls. The horde of monsters grows before their eyes. Reinforcements from the rear catch up with the front. The front line is under pressure. The commander decisively orders to withdraw the wounded and send fresh troops forward. On the chaotic battlefield, a cry of medics rings out as soldiers care for those who have fallen. A medic kneels beside a severely wounded soldier who quietly apologizes for falling in battle. The medic presses his palm against the soldier's torso, carefully assessing his severe wound. His eyes widen in horror as he realizes the wound reaches all the way to the bone. Understanding that the injury is fatal, he knows that a medium-strength potion should not work, but he still has to try. He uncorks the potion bottle, his face tense, a desperate plea for it to work. Bright warm light bursts from the soldier's wound as the potion takes effect. The magical energy of the potion quickly sews the flesh together with a soft hissing sound. The medic freezes and, stammering in disbelief, asks if the wound is completely healed. The revived soldier stands in amazement and asks if a rare high-quality elixir was used on him. Declaring that he is saved, he states that he can immediately return to battle and inspires others. With renewed fighting spirit, the group of soldiers rushes back into the fray with a loud battle cry. The medic and his comrades stand in astonishment at the unimaginable power of the potion. He looks at the empty bottle, confident that it was supposed to be only a medium-level potion. In the overcrowded church shelter, Marlin cannot stand the noisy crowd and directly says how unpleasant it is for her. The mother tries her best to calm her little one, who is crying loudly from pain. Dennis approaches and asks what happened, and the mother, worried, explains that her daughter fell while running. The little girl raises her tear-filled eyes, and her mother looks at her with concern. Dennis knelt down, rummaged in his bag, and quietly assured the girl that everything would be fine. He gently drips the contents of the bottle with the potion onto the child's scraped knee. The wound lit up, and the girl exclaimed with surprise that there was no pain at all. Dennis explains that the pharmacist did this, and Marlon mutters that the most amazing thing is the ingredients. The girl beamed with a bright, happy smile, thanking the lady pharmacist. When she thanked Miss Maid, Dennis was in a funny shock. Dennis blushed madly and suffered from embarrassment that he was seen in uniform while the crowd whispered. Alicia, with quiet confidence, calmed the crowd, asking them not to panic. She sincerely thanks Marlon, and she waved it off, saying, in an emergency situation it was necessary. Alicia sincerely offers to take the box with supplies and bring it to the shelter she is organizing. A burly bearded man named Billy entered, and full of anxiety, called Alicia. They discussed the chaos and heard with relief that their friend Sifa was safe and had set off on an adventure. Alicia's face shows anxiety. She notices that she does not see Gio anywhere. Billy froze for a moment at the news of Gio's absence. Both concluded that he was definitely in another shelter, not at home. Looking out the window, Alicia anxiously looks at the town and wonders if everything will be all right with him. Billy hopes that the armor and weapons he recently delivered to the castle have already come in handy. He understands they have nothing left but prayers while the battle rages outside. On the fortifications, the lady notices that her troops are holding on thanks to equipment and potions. But she doubts they will withstand when the whole pack of monsters attacks at once. Her eyes narrow in horror as she senses another, stronger threat. She anxiously realizes that powerful people have come to the battlefield, each with their distinct aura. From the horde emerges a huge battle, Leo. Armed with blades, his power is palpable in the air. A gigantic bloody elephant with fierce tusks bursts into the fight, a living siege machine. An armored giant bursts onto the scene, a deadly scorpion, its presence menacing. The commander falls into despair, doubting whether his troops can defeat these A-rank monsters on their own. Battleo breaks out with a fierce roar, his eyes glowing, and he charges forward. The Lord raised the alarm, realizing that the beast was rushing straight at her. The monster instantly closed the distance, its heavy paws thudding dully on the ground. It crashes through the ranks of soldiers, shouting that they must intercept it. The soldier's mithril armor shatters into pieces like glass under the monster's unstoppable force. One soldier screamed in horror as a huge fang of the battle lion lunged at him. In a lightning-fast rush, the Lord swiftly tore away from the wall downwards to intercept the beast. Her soldiers shout her title in shock as she delivers a powerful blow. A soldier sharply warned her, "Be careful, this monster is not like the others at all." Another soldier insists that she retreat, but she resolutely says that she is well aware of the danger. She firmly declares that she can no longer just stand and watch as the bloody elephant breaks through the ranks. The Lord gapes, not believing his eyes. The elephant is rushing straight to the city gates. The huge beast smashed the soldiers who tried to break down the main gates. The face is a mask of rage as it rushes towards the wooden doors. The lady gritted her teeth, stunned by the enormous size and power of the creature. She knows at this pace the defense will not hold. She realizes with horror that the monsters are about to flood into the city. The echo of blows tears the silence. A part of the city is about to crumble. Standing high and looking down, Gio feels his heart pounding. He realizes things are bad. He knows it's only a matter of time the monsters will break through. Partner Milk insists on running away, and he agrees they need to get out. He looks at the city, and the very thought of its destruction squeezes his heart. In the shelter, people watch the chaos, and the sounds of breaking reach them. Billy Gramley says that even the shelter might not withstand such a huge horde. Gio's body trembles from a combination of fear and irritation. His heart pounds wildly in his chest, and he feels completely helpless. Despair turns into determination, and he shouts that there must still be something he can do. He asks his companion Milk if he will go with him, and he meows in agreement. A plan is born in his head. He decides to use his skill to get into the second garden. He and Milk madly rush through the city streets to a huge statue resembling a golem. They are heading to the western gate that is where the fiercest battles are. Gio places his hand on the statue, preparing to awaken his power. The word "move" appears on his interface, confirming his bold plan. Suddenly, a system window appears on the screen. Does he want to move the garden? Determination froze on his face, and he gives his consent. The ground bulges with incredible force as his garden begins to move. In the depths of the dungeon, a young woman named Cena feels a strange tremor. Her companion anxiously asks if something is wrong, but she waves it off, saying it's just a tremor. As their group moves deeper, she quietly mutters that she is hungry. She mumbles to herself that she wants to go home and eat Gio's food. Returning to the moving garden, Gio forces it to race at full speed. He shouted to his companion Milk, "Hold on tight." They raced through the air. He sees smoke and chaos of the stampede near the western gates. He worries that the soldiers will notice his garden, but knows he has no time for that. He disables the garden's camouflage, and part of the space literally appears out of thin air. He wonders if he can hide alone, then forces himself to face what lies ahead. Standing on his moving patch of land, Gio looks at the screen and is unsure if his preparation is enough. With a loud roar of movement, he takes up his plan and rushes forward. Meanwhile, a colossal monster elephant crashes against the city gates, and panic cries rise from below. The giant wooden gates groan and splinter under pressure, about to be completely destroyed. Behind the walls, the bear monsters roar fiercely, and the soldiers try with their last strength to reform their ranks. The commander raises his voice and encourages his men, urging them not to give up before the charging bulls. The monster lets out a fierce, deafening roar that rolls across the chaotic battlefield. Lord Elizabeth fiercely throws herself into battle with the giant scorpion, cursing the beast as their weapons clash. She gloomily notices that the monster's rage does not weaken at all. Elizabeth is gripped by horror. Her troops will soon be unable to hold the line. A soldier on a battleman noticed a strange sight on the horizon and could not understand it alone. Frightened by the soldier's scream, Elizabeth raises her head and looks up. She fears more monsters are approaching. From afar, an incredibly large wall is rapidly advancing onto the battlefield. The structure rumbles across the plains, shaking the forests and trembling the earth, and it is heading toward the city. The commander with light hair stares in complete disbelief, unable to comprehend the impossible sight. Her soldiers, in despair and horror, shouted and asked what this moving wall was. Questions whirl in her head. Is this impossible wall a friend or foe? When the roaring wall was advancing on them, she shouted to her soldiers, "Run." Elizabeth and her soldiers froze when they realized that the wall itself had just spoken. Realizing it was an ally, she instantly orders all her warriors to retreat. Soldiers hurriedly carry out orders and flee from the onslaught of monsters rushing after them. From his point of view, Dio sighed with relief. They understood and focused on the monsters. He knows he must act quickly to intercept them before the gates are destroyed. The ground shakes as he wills a huge protective wall into being. The monsters rushing forward suddenly stop, stunned by the sudden new obstacle. With a tremendous crash, the wall slammed directly into the front ranks of the horde. The monsters are thrown into the air, crying out in pain as they are brutally crushed. A frenzied force of impact swept like a wave through the entire pack of monsters. The wave of destruction does not stop, sweeping away the ranks of the stampede. Countless beasts crash into the unyielding hard surface. Their charge has stopped. The shockwave is so powerful that it knocks even the retreating soldiers off their feet. In front of the gates, a huge stone platform finally formed, divided into cells. The colossal structure lies like a giant stone lid, a wreath, dust, and smoke. Elizabeth stares in bewilderment, realized that the fierce onslaught had completely stopped. She barely comprehends the scale of what has just happened. As the dust begins to settle, the silence on the battlefield becomes eerie. The soldiers said that one charge wiped out almost half of the horde. The soldiers' shot quickly turns into joy, and they burst into loud applause. They celebrate the miracle of their rescue, stunned to have survived among a herd of 1,000 mighty creatures. Amid the applause, Elizabeth remains pensive. Her attention is drawn to a strange detail. It seems to her that the mysterious wall has somehow grown even taller than before. At the top of the wall, the geosize protrudes in relief, but he notices that nothing is visible below. Under Elizabeth's gaze, just as she saw that huge structure, it suddenly began to shrink. The geostrains tense to maintain balance as the stone platform shifts beneath his feet. The commander held her breath, her eyes wide open in surprise at the strange behavior of the wall. A huge monster elephant, surviving the assault, trembles with pure rage. Gio cannot believe his eyes. One of the colossal beasts is still alive. Elizabeth and her soldiers reacted instantly. They drew their swords to meet the relentless enemy. She admits, although the gate is blocked, the mighty enemy is still here. With a deafening roar, it strikes and pounds the stone wall with its body. The soldiers screamed in alarm as the monster relentlessly stormed the new barrier. Gio calmly leaned over the edge of the wall and watched intently the attacking creature. With a confident smile and a snap of his fingers, he invites it inside. The part of the wall attacked by the monster begins to break. Caught off guard, the roaring elephant stumbles forward through the new passage. Elizabeth and her soldiers froze in silence, eyes wide open in surprise. Two huge block-like megagolems emerge from the convex part of the wall. Geo pointed at the beast with a commanding finger and gave one short, sharp order. The megagolems rush at the elephant, their stone fists already ready to strike. They hammer the beast with incredible force, delivering thunderous blows directly to its snout. Geo watches with satisfaction as his defenders storm the monster. Then he throws shining lures to lure the surviving monsters into his trap. The mighty lion monster and other beasts are enticed by the lures. The rest of the creatures rushed forward, biting the bait and breaking into the squad. Even more megagolems protrude from the walls, ready to meet the new wave. The golems immediately swarm the lion monster, and its fierce strength proved weak against them. Another golem crushes a creature, resembling a scorpion. Its shell cracks under the pressure. Other monsters suffer the same fate. They are crushed by the stunning power of the guardian. Elizabeth watches in terrible trembling as monsters are mercilessly exterminated one by one within the walls. A soldier reports an incredible spectacle. Giant golems are exterminating the monsters. With a cheerful salute, Janats joyfully says that the monsters are almost exterminated. He casts a glance at the pile of fallen enemies and quietly acknowledges their strength. He proudly strokes his golem, praising it for the expected and complete victory over them. Geo and Milk survey the bloody devastation and rejoice that the problem is finally solved. Suddenly Milk sprang up with a fierce hiss, his body frozen with anxiety. J.O. flinched at the sudden commotion and asked what was wrong with her. Behind him, the wall is broken through a loud rumble bursts out from it. His confident expression melted away, replaced by genuine, unfeigned shock. From outside, a new rough, muscular figure breaks through the stone fortress. A drop of sweat appears on his forehead as he looks at the new formidable enemy. The soldiers and their commander froze in identical astonishment. This unexpected appearance stunned them. The warriors recognized the beast, Atlas, a powerful type of cyclops. A gigantic monster towers before me, at least 20 meters tall, and an incredible force radiates from it. Elizabeth understands, such a powerful monster can cause panic and a crush. She is convinced this beast is the true cause of the attack. The ground rumbles under its steps, and Geo realizes the situation is critical. The huge creature advances, its heavy steps shaking the very earth beneath it. He is gripped by panic, feeling completely helpless before a monster of such incredible scale. The first impulse is to reinforce the wall, but this idea seems hopelessly weak. Atlas lets out a deafening roar, preparing to smash everything to pieces. Its colossal fist crashed down with terrible speed and struck the ground with a loud rumble. Geo froze his golem, moved forward to intercept the giant. Atlas easily grabs one of the stone golems by the head. It growls, demonstrating its stunning strength over the smaller mechanism. Geo watches in horror as the golem is crushed and realizes that they are clearly outmatched. Having destroyed the golem, Atlas directs his sinister gaze straight at Geo. A wave of pure terror washed over him, and he involuntarily shuddered. The monster moved with a heavy rumble straight towards his shaky position. Suddenly he realized that he could easily escape simply by using the skill Travel Between Gardens. But if he runs away, he knows, the monster will destroy the entire city. Torn by conscience, Geo in the first moment of panic saves himself first and foremost. Suddenly a system prompt appears. Does he want to absorb the fallen monsters? He dares to take the risk and loudly shouts yes as the giant Atlas approaches closer. Immediately the bodies of the monsters on the ground scattered into shimmering particles of light. His sacred land sharply rose in levels and opened the possibility to cultivate entirely new crops. He masters a new evolutionary skill creation of the Giga Guardian, and his heart fills with hope. Geo accepts the task to create a new guardian, praying that he can defeat the monster. Black viscous slime bubbles and bulges, beginning to form a new creature. Watching from afar, the blonde commander looks tensely and thinks about what is now beginning to unfold. The dark mass continues to clump together, emitting wet squelching sounds. The commander notices with surprise that another golem is forming. The completed Giga Golem, huge and armored, stands before the stunned Atlas. It turned out that its colossal size is not inferior to the monster Atlas. Atlas glared angrily at his new opponent and let out a fierce roar. The yellow eyes of the Giga Golem shine and look back indifferently, ready for battle. Two titans collided, their fists met with a deafening blow. Sitting on Golem's shoulder, Geo initiates an epic duel. Two colossi fiercely push against each other in a brutal struggle for dominance. The blonde commander and her soldiers watch the incredible spectacle with admiration. A soldier says he was previously afraid their city Arsel was doomed. He suggests that Golem must be an ally because he stopped Atlas. The commander grimly assesses the situation, a drop of sweat running down her temple. She feels that her troops are powerless against such a colossal monster. The soldiers stood, their faces showing a mixture of awe and helplessness. One soldier clenches his hands and whispers a desperate prayer for victory. The army's pleas echo as the giants fight before the city walls. Atlas roars, pouring all his might into the battle. It begins to push the Gigagolem back with incredible force. The golem's feet dig into the ground, it strains, struggling against the pressure. The stone feet pressed into the ground and carved deep furrows. Geo shouts encouragement, urging his Gigagolem to keep fighting. The golem strikes a devastating blow directly to Atlas's face. Staggering backward, Atlas cries out in pain and surprise from the blow. The Gigagolem unleashes a fierce barrage of powerful, smashing strikes. Geo and the soldiers burst out with a loud shout, their hearts soaring. The blonde commander shudders, seeing the incredible destructive power of the golems. Unnoticed, another horned, three-eyed monster looks at the scene with malice. The smaller monster with fangs was powerfully knocked back by a blow. It staggered and barely stayed on its feet. The blow comes from a burly galley in heavy armor who appeared. The soldiers in JO stared in shock at the sudden appearance of another ally. The golem is immediately crushed under the giant fists of the monster. The monster tramples Gallium, breaking his stone body. The golem trembles as the last devastating blows fall upon him. A cruel smile appeared on the monster's face. He was triumphant. With the last fierce blow, the monster destroys the golem. Geo cries shouted the golem's name in alarm and disbelief. The form of Gallium is completely destroyed in a storm of fierce blows. The stone body crumbles into a pile of useless fragments. The soldiers, inspired, now look on in utter horror. The last remnants of Gallium are destroyed in a sudden burst of violence. A piece of armor on the golem's leg clanged and fell to the ground. A blow and a small cloud of dust rises. The soldiers are completely broken. One quietly whispers a prayer. The blonde commander stands with her soldiers, surrounded by deaf despair. Her eyes flash with determination, and she loudly says, "It's not over yet." The victorious monster is suddenly struck from a blind side. A powerful blow pushes the creature. It stumbles in surprise. The wild woman beast lunges at the monster and tears it with her sharp claws. The monster remains stunned and confused, gasping heavily. Another golem bursts from beneath the earth, just like the one they destroyed. The commander, not believing his eyes, shouted as a new golem appeared. Geo casually settled on the shoulder of the newly created golem. With a confident smile, he declares that he can make as many as he wishes. He impressively summons an even bigger Gigagolem onto the battlefield. The plump ogre suddenly found himself completely surrounded by smaller golems. On his face was pure horror. He realized he was trapped. Geo decisively pointed forward, ordering his creatures to launch an attack. The golems rushed forward, their movements coordinated and purposeful. They surrounded the frightened ogre and grabbed his limbs with all their might. The Gigagolem smashed another monster with stunning force. The one-horned beast bit into a golem's arm with its teeth. In response, another golem dealt him a devastating counterstrike. The soldiers watched tensely as the golem army fought relentlessly. The one-horned creatures flew into the air from a strong blow, screaming in pain. The mighty Atlas began to stagger exhausted and surrounded by a crowd of golems. The golems collectively converged around the fallen one-horned creature. It is buried under an avalanche of stones in the final devastating blow. Geo and his white beast with wolf paws watched as the battle unfolded. The soldiers cautiously approached the now silent battlefield. The huge, motionless body of the Atlas lies on the ground. The soldier hesitantly poked the creature's face with his sword. There is no response. A deep silence hangs in the air. It reached them, and the soldiers burst out in a triumphant shout. They swarm around the fallen body of the Atlantean, their joy palpable. Shouts of "This is a miracle, we are saved," echoed across the field. The soldier solemnly reports his victory to the blonde commander. She looks relieved at the field of defeated enemies. In her mind, the image of two giant golems, the defenders of Arsel, flashed. She wonders why these powerful constructs help them. She thinks, who could have so much mana to create such creatures? A mighty wall, like a giant net, scrapes the ground as it retreats backward. The soldiers watch, and one of them asks, "Is it worth chasing?" The wall disappears completely with the last whistle of expelled air. The commander and her squad stand in the middle of the wounded landscape. The wall vanishes, leaving only a wide, empty trench in its place. The soldier addressed the commander. "What is the fate of Anatolis Golem?" She says decisively, "Their first priority is to assess how much this area has suffered. Commander Gaze stands on a distant cliff where the wall disappeared. Suddenly, an impossible theory about his origin flashed through her mind. Miles ahead, the same structure freezes as the travel mode turns off. Completely exhausted after the battle, Geo sinks to his knees from fatigue. He looks at the fallen Atlas, grateful that he mastered the Giga Guardian's skill in time. His companion Milk gently licked his face, and he thanked him for being so soothing. His gloved hand gently rested on Milk's Fura, moment of quiet connection between them. With a slight smile, he admits how reckless it was to think he could handle it alone. Finally, the burden of today's events overwhelms him who wavers, completely exhausted. The next morning, the sun calmly rises over the rooftops of walled city. Residents begin to appear and the city square. Chatter fills the air. People sigh with relief the evacuation was cancelled, and they say only the western gate was damaged. Geo eavesdrops on them, and a wave of relief washes over Heimbrion is safe. He enters the restaurant. Lucas pushes the door and loudly greets Alicia, "Good morning." Suddenly, Alicia rushes forward and hugs him tightly, moved. She blushed and admitted that she was terribly worried about his safety. He awkwardly says that he was on the other shoulder. She sincerely sighed with relief. Alicia gently reproaches him for making the delivery so soon after the monster attack. He says that gathering fresh fruits for him every morning is just a habit. With a flourish, he displayed a whole pile of fresh eggs, and their quality impressed Alicia. Alicia kindly offers to prepare breakfast for him as a pleasant surprise before the restaurant opening. At first he hesitates, but she insists, placing a friendly hand on his shoulder. She sincerely wants to thank him for all the help he always gives her. With a quiet, grateful smile, he finally agreed to accept her offer. The quiet, sunlit facade of the restaurant immediately sets the mood for a peaceful morning. In a moment, Alicia returned from the kitchen, brought his dish, and thanked him for waiting. She proudly serves the dish and announces Lucas's special pancakes. Geo's eyes lit up with delight. He exclaimed how wonderfully this steaming plate of food smells. He thanks her and is already preparing to start eating, and she wishes him a good meal. His knife and fork easily glide through the steaming, fluffy pancakes. He lifts a piece with his fork and admiringly marvels at its incredible fluffiness. He brings the first piece of the special breakfast to his mouth, full of anticipation. His face melts into pure bliss as he enjoys the wonderful taste. The tiny piece melts on the giant pancake, overwhelmed by its softness. He takes another bite, which includes crispy bacon and rich, runny egg yolk. He eats greedily, completely captivated by this delicious combination of flavors. With full cheeks, he exclaims that he cannot get enough of this perfect combination. While eating, he enthusiastically praised Alicia for the wonderful dish, and she modestly said it was thanks to his ingredients. He smiles joyfully and says he would gladly eat this dish every morning. His sincere compliment confuses Alicia. Her heart beats wildly because she misunderstands his words. Geo quickly explained that he was joking, and she comically sank down in disappointment. He quietly sips from the cup, and his thoughts return to the events of recent days. He thoughtfully pondered how complex and dangerous the battle against Atlas had been. An image of a plump, sweet, and warm dish emerges in his mind. He smiles. Simple, tasty food after all that has happened seems incredibly refreshing. Suddenly, the restaurant door bursts open with a bang. His adventurer friends return noisily and boisterously. He asked if they had just returned from an adventure, and they meanwhile explained that they were hungry. Alicia greets Annie with a warm, joyful hug. She promises to whip something up right now for the hungry travelers. Sifa looks around thoughtfully. The city seems different than usual. Geo smiles as if he knows a secret and tells the three that they missed all the action yesterday. Three girls are watching. Curiosity is readable on their faces. What did he mean? They fell silent when they heard about the monstrous raid of 1,000 bees. Cena asks if he is okay, and he calmly assures that nothing happened to him. The girls could not believe their eyes. After such a great event, the whole city is not destroyed. Sefa proudly said that she heard the soldiers bravely fought with the weapon her father gave. Alicia adds that rumors go around. Truly incredible things also happened during the battle. She enthusiastically retells the story about a giant wall that appeared out of nowhere to stop the monsters. She continues and tells about strange columns that came to fight with the colossal leader of the swarm. Under the table, Geo and Annie, who knows his secret, exchange a worried glance, and no one notices their anxiety while the story continues. Geo's heart pounds as he realizes with horror that the story spreading like wildfire is about him. Inside him, panic takes hold. He realizes that he is adored as the sender of God's messengers. However, his fellow adventurers immediately dismissed this story, saying it was too incredible to be true. Annie returns to him with a sly smile and teasingly asks if it is his garden. Geo Twitch nervously tries to catch her sharp joke. He stammers, uttering a evasive agreement, hoping to divert any real suspicion. Alicia returns with food and admits that she too is skeptical of those wild rumors. She sincerely confessed that she was truly afraid that the restaurant would be destroyed during the attack. She genuinely shines with happiness. They can calmly spend time together again. She brought a large covered dish and said that all she can do is thank the mysterious saviors of the city. Geo listens to her sincere words, his face quiet and thoughtful. Cena joyfully savors the food and says that all this deliciousness is thanks to those amazing messengers. Annie agrees and rejoices. The wonderful taste of the restaurant is preserved. She turns to ask Geo his thoughts, but he seems lost in contemplation. A quiet thought reveals the secret. Everything is thanks to the garden by the house. Alicia admits that during the crisis, she seriously thought about running away. Geo decisively bites into his food. The sound is sharp and clear. A sincere, bright smile blossomed on his face, and he happily says that the dish is wonderful. Taking in the peaceful town with his gaze, he thought, "Good thing I didn't run away." The group moves on, and Lucas sincerely thanks Alicia for the wonderful meal. Geo waves said goodbye, announcing that he is finally heading home. The group stands near the restaurant, ready to disperse for the day. Suddenly, Annie's hand gripped his shoulder tightly, causing him to freeze. She says to him, "We have something to talk about before you leave." They approach the battlefield. Before them towers the colossal body of Atlas. CIFA confirms this is indeed the leader of Stampede. Annie decisively says that she knew he was involved in this. In the flashback, he tells how he first unfolded his mobile garden. He continues to show how he built a giant wall to hold back the horde of monsters. Finally, he shows how he called his mighty golems into battle. He awkwardly admits that he just kept helping in the garden while keeping watch to remain unnoticed. Cena scolds him, realizing that all the rumors were about him, and calls his actions too dangerous. She, however, acknowledges that the city is safe precisely because of him. Geolaps shyly accepts their mixture of care and gratitude. Annie gestures toward the huge corpse and asks what they should do with this dangerous monster. He suggests getting rid of it by absorption, and this shocks Cena. They argue, weighing whether the possible profit is worth the unwanted attention. Geo suddenly realizes that he actually only needs a magic stone, so he decides to consult Laruka. He imagines how the Atlas magic stone could elevate his garden to a completely different level. The girls look at his garden and notice how all of this becomes shocking.